Are we on yet? We haven't done anything yet. Hello. Okay, so this is what's going on. We've had a little bit of internet trouble today. There's actually two parts to every meeting. There's a consent calendar part, which we have not, yet had. We're going to do that right now as expeditiously as we can, and then we'll go into the full agenda. So 5 to 10 minutes from now, we'll get into the full agenda, okay? So I'd like to call the consent calendar to order. Britt, are you here, please? Have you had a chance to review these?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, excellent. And so on page PDF 9, upper right-hand corner, if you considered wrapping the plaster around rather than putting a metal cap up there on that parapet, please?
Absolutely.
Is that okay with you? I'm ready to approve it with that one change.
So I had a couple of things. First of all, I appreciate the incorporation of artwork. I always like that. My gut on that was it's just, some of it's just all sitting on lawn. It might be kind of nice to have other understory landscaping to integrate it into the landscape a little nicer, I think would be worth looking at. You have there's a lot of high water use plants under the oak tree. Might kind of check that out. And then on the lighting, this is something that's kind of evolved and new with John and myself, is that that we're now open to having some tree canopy lights. So, because I see a lot of plans come in that were just have path lights. And my sense is that's kind of the way we were handling it before. But I just wanted to, I guess, make it aware if you had a couple of key trees that you wanted to have canopy tree lights, downlights, that we're open to that these days. Is that fair to say, John?
Yeah, keep it down. So it sounds like you have actually a number of different revisions that you thought were important to have.
I just wanted to point those out. If there's another iteration, I wouldn't hold his approval up on that. I think he's probably going to come back with things along the way. Is that?
It's easy to give you a preliminary with you to do that on final at the next consent. You want to do that?
How about if I just submit the drawings with these changes and we'll get
I'm
final?
okay with that. Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it that way. So we'll give you preliminary final with you to come back. Okay. This is on for preliminary today. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item C1, 551 Crocker Sperry Road, please?
No requests to speak.
Okay, so we will be back to this in about 10 minutes at the full meeting with the same comments.
Okay.
Okay. Items,
Stay.
if you want, that's fine. Item C2, this is for final approval. This is for that 8-foot fence that went to Planning Commission. There is a memo which I thought was important to read. Did you read that memo?
No, could you, I think I did the last time, but I forgot what it said. So,
Okay. Okay, up a little bit. Okay, project was approved by the MPC at a hearing in May and conditioned to obtain final MBAR approval. The project resolves the zoning violation. The project is acceptable to road standards with a landscaping road right-of-way, and all the new as-built fence will be located outside the right-of-way. Existing oak trees will remain and be protected in place. Daryl, are you here or Derek? Either?
This is Paige with Becker Studios and Derek from Arcadia Studios is here as well.
Did you have any other comments? Because I found the drawings acceptable.
yeah, they're fine.
Okay, so we will recommend for final approval here in a little bit. If you want to stay online, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll just do it at the appropriate time. Okay, we
Great,
are now
thank
up
you.
to the regular agenda. I'd like to call the July 11th, 2024 Montecito Board of Architectural Review to order. The first item on the agenda is public comment for anything that's not on the agenda. Is there anybody, please?
I have no requests.
Agenda status report?
We do have one revision to the agenda. The applicant for item number 3, which is the property at 160 Butterfly Lane, has requested a continuance to the August 8th hearing.
Is there a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Members informational briefing. Anyone go anywhere, do anything, please?
Well, it's related to it. I will be, stepping down on item, yes. I will recuse, yeah, item number 6. And I will not be at the next meeting on July 25th. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, staff update. Anybody? David, Kimberly?
Would you like to do the minutes from the June 27th meeting?
Yes, thank you. Minutes. I'm sorry. Thank you, Kimberly.
No worries.
Anybody, any comments on the minutes of June 27th, please?
I have. On number 8, 625 Para Grande Lane. Number 2, it says study length of stairway steps. I think the intent there was asking to study I was saying the width. Actually, I guess I was looking at length or width. It's a little confusing. So I was thinking the word should be width, but as I read it, I guess it means the same thing in this case. I was just thinking the stairway steps were awfully long, so I don't know if the word is length or width. So that's why I marked
Let's
it.
make it width because length is usually in the direction of travel on stairs.
Okay. Yeah, that was the semantics I got caught up in. Okay. And then
I had a 50-50 chance of getting it right, so.
Okay, and then on item 9, on 2561 Sycamore Canyon, it says, consider other palm tree species. And then it was in order to achieve proposed design formality, I think was the reason that there was suggested to propose other palm tree species was that the applicant was trying to put forth this formality. And that's what I just wanted to be clear about, was what we were asking them. That's what they were trying to do, and we were just trying to help them do that. So I said, consider other palm tree species in order to achieve proposed design formality.
Anybody else, please? Okay, I actually have a couple on the very first page, agenda status report. There is something that we're continuing 24 BAR 00062. But then when you actually go back to that item, it has a different BAR number. It's 075. So something's wrong there. It just needs to be cleaned up. I'm not sure which is right and which is wrong. And there was item number 7, the vote. Fowler recused. Isn't that vote 510 or 511? Rather than 5-1? Because it's only got, I don't know, I'm just asking.
I actually don't remember. I didn't think I recused myself from that one. I had questions on it, and I was thinking of recusing myself on it because I hadn't been there, but,
I still have my notes. I can check it. I can.
Okay, very good.
okay.
And then on item number 9, that was the one with the length and the width. In the motion to review the species of palm trees with the MBAR chair, I think it ought to be with Rob Fowler. Not me. I don't know enough to be able to be intelligent. Okay, anybody else got anything? All those in, do I have a motion for approval, please? I'll move to approve the minutes of the 27th as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, staff, now do you have anything, Kimberly?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, item C1, we would recommend for preliminary and final approval with the applicant to restudy detail number 1 on page PDF 9. The type of landscaping under the oak trees, and was there anything else?
It was a suggestion to look at how the art was incorporated or, and then there was about the lighting, whether they, if they want to, that the,
And consider alternatives to the landscape lighting. How's that?
sure.
Okay, is there a we are on for preliminary with this. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item C1551 Crocker Sperry Road, please?
No requests.
I will move for, I think I made a motion, yes. I need a second.
And
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed. Okay, item C2, 995 Lilac Drive, approved as submitted, correct? I would like to move for approval as submitted. Is there a second, please? Rob? Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, regular agenda. So we are running about 20 minutes late. Okay, item number 1, 361 Hot Springs Road. We're on for conceptual review. Is there anybody here, please?
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Eric Bear with AB Design Studio Architect. With me is Josh Bloomer and Augustine with AB Design Studio, along with Chris from Common Ground Landscape Architect. So we're here today. I can begin presentation, correct? Okay. So we're here today with a minor proposed scope to a property that was demolished during the debris flow. We'll give you a background on the history of the property as it's, I think, relevant and for some context. The proposed scope of work is a minor addition to the previously approved residence. That's the rebuild to the prior demolished residence, along with a proposed detached garage, and with it is an accessory dwelling unit, which I understand is not the purview of the board. I'm going to let Josh Bloomer give a brief overview of the previously approved project that we're now proposing some additions to. I think before passing that off, I know the board's always interested in the FAR, which we can come back to, but the calculators in the bottom left corner there, the proposed scope of work puts our FAR at 85% of the recommended maximum.
Okay, David, can you take us to sheet G.01? Just to get us located here, folks, the property sits at the corner of Hot Springs and the creek. Right, the bottom right image shows that pretty well. So the bottom corner there is the bridge that crosses the creek and or Montecito Creek to be exact. So the project, as Eric said, was pretty well destroyed during the flood and debris flow. And what remained were the oak trees. But the satellite photo you see there, I think, was taken soon after that, so that the entire site was denuded. There was a single-family residence on the property, and prior to the debris flow, that access to the entrance to that property was at the bottom right corner there, just above the bridge. So not the most ideal driveway location for the property near that bridge. Just a kind of tough visibility and dangerous part to enter and egress from. So. During the process, we were granted a like-for-like designation If you're not familiar with that, it's the county came up with some opportunities to help homeowners rebuild after the disaster. And the project was submitted and reviewed by planning staff and granted a like-for-like designation, which essentially meant that the house is the same orientation, same basic footprint, same size, bulk, and scale. Square footage was held to the existing square footage of the previously demolished residence, and I think there was a bonus of like 10% that was allowed as a kind of a variable to make the house a little bigger or smaller. So the house that we're proposing that's been approved on this site met all that criteria. It's been approved. Along with that, if you could go to, let's see, just go to sheet GO3. This is Chris's landscape plan. I think it's a good place just to start here. So this is what's been approved. And you can see part of the project included achieving the correct base flood elevation that was issued to us after the debris flow. So as you've probably seen a few of these projects come through, a lot of the site grading conditions don't meet the condition of the base flood elevation. The way we were able to solve this on this project is by moving the residents up from the creek to the north, as this plan is drawn, and by also doing a pretty extensive grading project to create a higher elevation for the house to sit on. So one of the things we were trying to avoid is having a lower story of uninhabited space with a single family dwelling, single story on top of that. I've seen a few of those projects and they just look like two-story buildings at the end of the day. So with the grading and recompaction of the soil, we're able to keep this as a single story building and keep it, I think, in its kind of diminutive format. So what was approved and what has been approved is the driveway, a single driveway entering into the property. Just below the existing driveway or little lane that feeds the residents down that private drive. I'll let Chris talk about the landscape plan, but there's an extensive amount of re-landscaping and reconstituting this property. And I'd say probably the primary element that we were trying to design around or design into is preservation of the oaks. We have some very nice oak trees on this project. In the center of that drawing there, you see a little yellow circle that designates the trunk of the larger oak. And you see an L-shaped or kind of a dogleg feature heading to the entry of the residence. And what that is a bridging element. We're trying everything we can to avoid touching the soil around the base of this tree to preserve it. So the house sits on a pad, and then from the garage, I don't have a pointer here, but you can see that the bridging element that actually connects the front door, and that's kind of cantilevered and hanging over that area of the site such that it doesn't impact the critical root zone. There's an oak that's being removed at the bottom right corner of the residence, smaller kind of deformed oak. And then there's another oak just south of that that's very nice that we're also working very hard to keep clear of, so that there's an exterior deck that sits well above the grade. And that again, it's like the entry walkway. It's bridging so that it's not impacting the soil. So again, another effort to try and mitigate or stay out of the critical root zone. And then there's
Can we get to looking at the garage and
Sure.
what's extra, please?
just for reference, we put in a few, if you may have already looked at these, but if you go to the next sheet, this is
There's a site plan showing the new work though, right?
right. So this is the existing style of the existing house that's been approved on the site. So it's currently in construction. And I just wanted to make sure you guys had a reference point for this, because this is where the ADU and garage are tied together in the architectural style and material quality of it. So we could refer back to this if you want to. Basically, it's a wood-sided house with a kind of a taupe paint color and a gray standing seam roof. Pretty simple kind of modern farmhouse style. Are you interested in hearing more about the landscape plan for the project. We were doing
Keep going.
considerable amount of landscaping around the new area of the ADU. If you are, we have Chris Gillen here to.
We haven't
talk about
seen
that.
the garage yet, or in the site plan for the garage. Can we
Okay,
get to that?
You move to the next slide. So that again is another existing plan. Keep going. So this represents the proposed development. To the top of the property, you can see on the pink area is the drive. The basic proposal here is to eliminate the second driveway and utilize the existing private drive at the top of the property and come in from the top. And this is something that was discussed early on in the project, looking to reduce the amount of paving in driveways and grading and so forth. And so we think this is an improvement to the existing approved design, and we're eliminating that driveway in favor of having a single driveway into the neighborhood. So the pink area represents paving area that would be a change to what's currently approved. And then the next piece over there is the detached garage and then the ADU. And then the green area represents landscaping area that's being modified to match what is existing and approved, but also to accommodate the ADU in the garage. The yellow area is pull-off area that the fire department requested. It also provides a location for parking for delivery vehicles or anything else to the property, and there's access through there. So we've had the fire department review this and look at it. Transportation's looked at this a few different ways. Am I missing anything?
Also on the plan here, the proposed addition to the approved residence.
Very good.
Yeah.
Sorry, the keynote 3 there with the gray hatch indicates the proposed minor addition to the approved residence, which we can see in floor plan. It's important to note that that's an addition that's proposed beneath the roof that was extending there. There was a deep eave there that was previously approved, and so we're proposing an addition that does not require extending the roof further out. Kind of fits beneath that existing roof.
And elevations of the,
So we can go to the next slide.
So that's the floor plan for the ADU and garage. Go back. Came out of order. Anyway, the floor plan is pretty elementary, but sorry.
elevations, but there's 4 sides to those elevations, so.
Yeah, can you advance the slide there, David? One more. One more. Keep going.
This is the elevations for the
I
proposed addition.
not sure where we are.
Go back up
Can
one,
you go backwards, please?
Up.
Ah, there we are.
right there.
Okay, right there, stop. Can you go back one, please? This is the floor plan. Okay, so first floor there at the bottom, garage on the left, residence on the right, and then the second floor. The next slide. So this is the proposed structure, again, matching exactly to the materials and finish and detailing to the existing approved residence. Next slide. And I suppose if you go back one, the most public side of the building would be elevation 1. It's facing in to the north at the driveway. I think that's about it. I think the one thing that there's been some outreach to the neighbors in the neighborhood. I know we'll have some public comment, so let them, input their thoughts on this. But we're currently studying the driveway and making sure that we're treating that fairly with the other neighbors and thinking about safe ingress and egress off of Hot Springs. It's a fast street, so safety is a real important factor there, and also maintaining what the current neighborhood's enjoying is a priority for us. So I think that's, unless you want to hear more about it, that's pretty much it. We just tried to make sure we weren't creating a lot of confusion given the nature of the project and how it's been approved. So if you have any questions, happy to answer.
I'd like to hear what the Chris has to say about the landscape, just as an overview, please.
Okay. Thank you, Chris Gillen with Common Ground. yeah, a lot of work went into this over many years, mainly in, finding the best way to protect those oaks, especially the one where Josh pointed out there's a bridge element, and that's elevated because of that oak. That's sort of in the middle upper part of the site. That's a magnificent oak. And so we want to preserve that at all costs. Beyond that, another major issue here was street privacy and sound. As Josh mentioned, it's a fast street, and so you'll see along the setback line, there's a sound wall that extends from one end of the house to the other, and we also have, of course, flood zones and FEMA setbacks, and we also tried to sort of terrace down because we had to raise the house about 8 feet due to the FEMA flood elevations. We terraced wherever we could to help soften the blow. And, as I mentioned, the sound wall for privacy and views. And on the street side of that sound wall, we did some really nice sort of curvilinear dry stack stone walls to help terrace that down so it's not so severe. And planting style wise, mostly native. I mean, all native in the flood zone, of course, but even beyond that, because there's so many oaks, we tried to stick to probably I'd say 75% native palette throughout the site. And, some addition we had to mitigate, which we're over mitigating for. We had the one oak bottom right corner of the house that was to be removed. And I believe we have 5 large box oak trees for mitigation proposed. And so we're well over the mitigation requirement. And yeah, beyond that, some additional more ornamental trees throughout. You see quite a few new trees, especially trying to privatize from the street down in the lower right corner. And just some pathways kind of meandering through the flood zone, but nothing solid, more like gravel paths. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Do you take any questions?
Questions, Tip?
Yes, can you explain a little bit more about the proposed, seem like off-street parking? Can you zoom in, David?
We're on the wrong.
I go to the proposed plan.
Or even that, this one is fine. Along Hot Springs, so I have 2 questions. Number one, if it's,
We're on the wrong plan, so I think it's the next one down.
this one I can see it.
Going. There you go.
There.
Thank you.
So I have 2 questions regarding this issue. Number one is that if it's in the right of way for Hot Springs Road, and question number 2 is that is this the only parking that I can remember seeing along Hot Springs, driving up and down the street? And is it for the public? Or is it for the homeowner only, or how? So anyway, those are my questions. Yes.
Well, I guess it starts with a little bit of discussion about the fire department, but you can see we have an outline of a fire truck in that space. So the fire department has looked at this carefully, and they'd like to have that as their way to access the site if there were a fire on the property. They can also drive an emergency vehicle right up to the gate and fit a fire truck there. We're in the pink area, right up to the gate entrance to the house, so they're satisfied with that. That line at the edge of the yellow kind of demarks where the edge of the usable road is. There's a setback on the road that goes much deeper in the property, but and some of the site walls obey that setback. But we have parking internally. We've got ample parking for both residences that are covered off street, enclosed garages. But we also have if you come down the drive, we've created parking for guests to park on the property as well. So there's kind of a pattern there. You see just I don't know, down from the pink area into, in between the garage and the entry gate. So we are considering that. The part where you can pull off on the hot springs was initially put there for the fire department's use, but we also recognize that there's so much, at-home delivery going on these days with big Amazon trucks and that sort of thing. So we did kind of consider that and want to reduce the amount of impact on the private drive for larger vehicles or people coming and going from this sort of three-house neighborhood. So, it has the potential to be used for anybody that pulls over there, I suppose. But anybody coming to the residence to deliver anything can actually use that as well.
Yeah, I guess follow up my comment. Why would the fire department require that you put in a fire truck parking, which we have not seen on any location along Hot Springs? Is it a requirement or just something that the applicants like to do?
They were pretty emphatic that that's what they wanted, at least speaking to the fire department in particular about that. I think Chris's attitude and mine have always been to try and beautify it. Right now, this property is kind of a blemish as you come into along this road. And at one point, I think it was quite nice. And so we're trying to restore it back to something beautiful. I think we're also concerned about not overdeveloping things down towards the bridge or towards the creek. You do see there's a lot of terracing there. We're building up a lot of dirt to get this site pad to the base flood elevation tip. And part of what Chris was explaining is if you look at that in section, we're terracing back down to get to the street. So we're not creating an abundance of site walls or any kind of built structure. So there's boulders and terracing, and again, a kind of a gravel. The area in yellow is meant to be gravel, pervious. And
Rob, questions, please.
Yes, okay, what is what's the width of that driveway coming in in this slide, by the way?
I'm going to defer to our project manager, Augustine.
Width of the, you hear me?
The driveway coming off of Hot Springs?
The width of the driveway is 16 feet.
Okay, and then what about landscaping along that property line? Are you getting landscaping from the adjoining property or?
Which side? On our side of
On the top part of it?
Yeah, we've created a landscaping strip between the house and the driveway proper and left that unenclosed. So you can see just at the top right of the property, if you zoom in, there's a little gate and then a kind of a curved wall element in black peeling off from there.
I'm looking way up at the top of up by the ADU.
Yes, correct. So like where you see keynote 7, that's indicating a gate, and then to the right of that on the drawing is this curved wall that kind of encloses and privatizes that
Yeah.
area. But to the
Yeah,
left,
no, I
of
was
that-
looking on the other side on where the 16 keynote is. It looks like the
Yes.
driveway goes right up to the property line and then there's no landscaping.
It's all heavily vegetated
Okay.
on the neighbors.
That's all
pretty-
right. That's
Oh, sorry. Now I see what you're asking.
okay. And then I'm confused, I guess, is that what am I looking at? I saw the other scheme. Is there a sequence in the way this is being developed that we have this plan with the ADU and then there's the other plan that was presented at first that just that didn't have that? How is that proposed to kind of unveil itself?
Well, the basic proposal on the table today is the simple one is keynote 3 is just the addition to the residence, the approved residence, which is a minor addition. And then, of course, the new development here is the new ADU and attached garage, which again had us rethink the project and remove a lot of excess paving that was being created by the separate entrance off of Hot Springs. So
Could we go back to that other plan
Yeah.
for a second? Please. Is the first one we presented?
Yeah, there you go. You can look at it there too. That one's a little bit, more if you go
You
forward, David,
had it and then
it's just the sheet next to that one, David.
that one.
It's there too. That's the landscape plan. So on this, if you go to the top of the page, David, there's a, oops.
Yeah, that
There's-
one. Stay
yeah.
there if you would, please. So yeah, what I was confused about was, so that's not what you're proposing at this point. You're proposing the other one with the ADU.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was.
That's correct. So this is what is currently approved.
Okay, that's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Dave, questions, please.
Can the pullout be reduced and still meet the fire department requirements?
I assume yes.
Okay, and is the garage encroaching in the setback?
Let's go back to the proposed plan.
So there's a variable setback. If you go to the, to the enlarged floor plans, you'll see that there's a slight, encroachment over the setback, but we're not, that encroachment, is not larger than essentially whatever's in front of it behind the setback in the front of the garage.
So if you go to control line 1 on drawing 2, you'll see an angled line. If you
Can I
zoom
go
in
to
there.
the site plan and just see how that relates?
Sure.
to the property line?
Yeah, go back one, David. Other way. There you go. So if you zoom in there, David, you will see it's a little sliver at the top right corner. So we're just kind of comparing triangles, I guess. So there's a little triangle encroaching and then a larger triangle pulling back.
And it meets the requirements, the zoning
That's
requirements.
our understanding, yes. Yes, sir.
Those are my questions. Thanks.
Robert, questions, please. Robert, questions, please.
I need to recuse myself from this.
If you're going to, could you step outside then, please, or just sit out in the audience, please? Thank you. Stacy, questions, please.
Can we go back and look at the aerial, the photographs,
Thank you, Robert.
David? Sure. I just want to see the impact to the neighbors to the north and immediately adjacent. Yeah, can you zoom in on that? So it looks like the adjacent structure on the neighboring property is almost right up against the property line. Is that correct? With the solar?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And is that a two-story?
Portions of it, yes.
Okay. That's my only question.
If I may, we did study the privacy issues between those two. We can discuss that in more detail if we need to, but
Yeah, would you?
yeah, if you go, well, when you look at the site plan, you'll see the garage, and we've just been careful to analyze windows facing windows and that sort of thing. And there's been, Chris has done some good work, I think, to plant along that edge condition. It gets pretty tight there, but you can see where those two things are facing towards each other. So we believe at this point with the oak in the middle there and the landscaping that we're providing with the fencing, that we have adequate screening and privacy.
But you are raising that 8 feet in elevation, your house,
Yeah, it's
relative to that one.
It is, and if you go to the top left of the portion of the house, we start to find some grade. So the grading that's where the bigger elevation change is to the southeast of the house.
Okay.
As we dump, and if you look, kind of see how we've terraced, like there's a kind of circular deck off the south end of the residence.
Okay.
And then the terraces that kind of help it blend back down towards the creek, but towards like the driveway and entrance into the garage. And along that line there, with the boundary between the two properties, we're not doing as much elevation change as we are to the bottom southeast corner. And there's also been an effort to control water flow coming off the site. There's actually that landscape boundary on our side of the property line between the two neighbors is also a drainage swale that actually conveys water carefully so that it doesn't go from our site to the neighbor's site. And our civil engineer has looked at that pretty extensively.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
How's the fire department service 361 Hot Springs, please?
How's the fire department service this property?
Yeah, now, so we need to look at the existing site plan data up,
Yeah, the previous residents had a driveway to the
right?
bottom right corner of the site. And I don't have plans to show you how that worked, but the current survey, this is what's currently approved. That yellow area you see on the previous plan is represented here. We just don't have it yellowed out. So they still are claiming that area along the side. And then it's kind of two-part. What I'm understanding from emergency services and the fire department is it's not just about getting the fire truck in, it's also pulling in an ambulance or a paramedic. So if I understand this correctly, the way they're looking at this is they want us to create the appropriate clearances at the front gate of the property at the top north of our proposed plan, such that a smaller truck or an emergency services vehicle can pull right up to that gate and be out of the way of any other traffic. And then along Hot Springs, they're looking at that for larger vehicles. Their preference in an emergency or a fire that they're telling me they want for this is they want to attack it from pulling off directly onto Hot Springs and not having to travel down that lane. But to the question we had earlier, we've kind of taken advantage of that, so to speak, to just make it look intentional. Like we didn't want to just create a parking spot for a fire truck. We kind of tried to pull away from the street and blend that in. But to Mr. Mendo's comment, could there be some massaging there? Absolutely.
Okay, so I'd like to ask my question again. I'm hoping to get an answer this time.
I'm sorry.
How do they service this property now, please?
Well,
Nothing on
there's
it.
nothing on it.
So the fire department cannot service this property now? How do they bring in their trucks? Where do they stage them?
I think
How
that
do they back them up? How do they turn them around?
I have no idea how they would service this property right now. Wasn't a part of reconditioning it after the demolition.
Maybe
And
go to
then-
the survey that might show the old.
Okay, Chris, how big are those oak trees? There's one to the north. How big is that, please?
They're all quite large. The largest one is sort of middle center of the site. And
And how-
that's, it'd probably be that plan right there. So here's the original survey. You
Right,
can see that it was pretty much, as far as servicing from the fire department down in the lower right-hand corner, there's access in through there. But that driveway's gone, the house is gone.
so how big are the two oak trees on the upper portion of the property, which is what you're trying to save, please, about?
Yeah, I think the middle upper portion of the property, right above there,
Yep,
that oak is the nicest oak on the property. I believe it's two 30-inch trunks.
okay.
And I mean, we can zoom in right there if we want to see the actual.
And the other one above that, please?
The other one, 18, maybe 20-inch, it looks like.
I think it's
20, okay, very good. Public comment. Andrew, are you here for this item? Please come on up. And if you could identify yourself for the tape. Yes, anywhere that there's a microphone. What? Yeah. Can they hear you in Seattle?
My name is Andrew Schmaller. I live at 365 Hot Springs Road. That's the property next to 361. Could you put up one of the property maps that you guys have been referring to? So my main comment here is the access on the easement. Okay. There's two people, 365 and 369 was the property sort of behind me or next to me that access that easement.
There you go.
It's been that way since the original development in 1960.
The microphone right here. Sir?
So 365, that's my place, which is this property right here. And 369, which is, that's over here, off the easement, have accessed this property this way for 64 years. My main concern with this is, with this project, they're not just putting in this house, There's one house. They're putting in two houses. But just from the get-go, there's two houses going in here. Yeah. And then, as you guys said, and I live next to these people, the Shackles that lived here before, they accessed it right here. In the new plan, it's right here. I think that's the approved plan. Now it's here. So just for easy math, you have two properties accessing the easement. Now you're going to essentially have four. This house and this house accessing this. Okay. That's a problem. This egress, ingress, or those terms, this is already a gnarly situation because the street kind of curves like this and people are going downhill. The speed limit's 40, it's posted 40. I don't think anybody goes 40. Okay. So this is already a problem. And now you're looking at putting double the capacity on this easement. Okay. So, and I'm not even talking about, like safety issues, traffic issues as is. So now we're going to double that. I'm not sure that's wise from a public safety standpoint, a traffic standpoint. You're going to have cars coming in and out of here blocking Hot Springs. I don't think it's very wise. So by the way, my gate's right. So to me, it's a traffic issue. It's a safety issue. The original plan was here. There was no ADU. We all know the ADU issue, state issue. They can do it. I'm not particularly happy about it. This structure right here is going to look right down into my property. My understanding, there's a garage right here. That's a deck on it. It's going to look at my property. So that's my main concern. I mean, I'm stoked for these guys. I was obviously part of the debris flow. I saved a woman's life. I'm just totally stoked that a house is being built there. Trust me, we're happy about that. We want our neighbors back. I'm gonna get a little emotional about it. I'm stoked they're doing this, right? And Chase has been totally cool. I just want to say that. This is a problem. Okay? Can we work it out between us? I don't know. You guys need to get involved. I don't know. So that's my comment. Did I miss anything, Gordon?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anybody else that would like to address the board on this item, please?
No additional requests.
Comments, we're here on concepts. Tip, comments.
John,
Oh, wait.
before we get started, do you want to clarify what we're reviewing? Because I feel like we talked
Okay,
about quite a bit of stuff that may or may not be what we're actually.
as I understand it, what's before the board are the two gray structures. It's actually the one gray structure because one of them is exempt. And access, including the fire department. So the main, and there's a small little strip of addition on the house, and that's it. Okay, does that help? Okay. Comments, Tip, please.
Yeah, okay. Yes, as I definitely see a couple items here that I'm not even sure how to resolve it. And one of them, the big one for me, had to do with the fire department I'm not sure the requirement or what it is, and I find that's really problematic because the way I see it, if you have a house right in Hot Springs, and God forbid you have a big fire, the fire department will park right in front of Hot Springs and divert the traffic. We've been doing that for years. We're not going to turn off and try to let the cars move left and right while they fight something. So for them to ask for a pull-over just in front of this lot only to fight the fire, then what happened to the rest of the property along Hot Spring? What are we going to do? And I know that they've been parking along the street on many occasions and they just block everything. That's what it is, emergency service. So that's one issue for me. And I mean, this is, as you know, Hot Spring is a fast moving access road to Montecito. And if I can recall, if it's approved, this is the only parking we can see along Hot Springs in this neighborhood. And I'm not sure how that affect the traffic, pulling in, pulling out, and who can use that space? Will the applicant allow the public to park there? Or would it be paint red all the time for the fire department that nobody can park there? And so it's something that I really don't think is needed. That's my perception. I do like the idea of having the driveway. You move the driveway, which I think which is a great idea, I mean. I realize it's a little tight, and there are a lot of houses on Hot Springs that coming in directly from Hot Springs. Pretty much all the houses along that neighborhood coming off from Hot Springs, and there have not been any issues at all, the way I see it, especially the property, like I think one next to this one that was built by Becker's a couple years ago and have a nice entrance coming off Hot Springs. Due to the tightness of driveway and how everything comes in, it'd probably be better, in my opinion, to maintain the access from Hot Springs. If you set back the gate 20 feet from Hot Springs so the cars can pull out of the way, instead of tried to have everything coming into a very tight easement. I'm not sure how wide that easement, probably about 15 feet. And with a new garage right next to it, so it's definitely it's going to create some issues. So I do have issues with both two items. I have no problem with the garage or the additional square footage. Thank you.
Rob, comments, please.
I personally, I think the first site plan, I think you created a lot of really nice, interesting spaces. I like the level changes. I think the site plan, it kind of feels really good and the way the whole thing is put together. Not as great with the ADU kind of stuff's more forced in there. I think, looks like you might be losing a big oak tree as part of that, kind of new scheme. But I think you've done a lot of nice things. So I mean, if this is what's before us, I think there's things that can be made to work. More detailed issues is the front bridge. You have the back patio, there's a deck, and you have that curved. It seems like, why not curve that where you may be supported at the point of tangency, and that might be less impactful on that one nice oak tree. I don't know if you're interested in doing that. But I mean, I like that whole deck, front entry deck, bridge. I think it's cool, but I think it might be kind of nice to curve it and then it matches the back. And then on the back deck, I like kind of the oak tree coming up through the deck. But I think you might find that where it's positioned, it looks like it chops everything up around it so that there's no kind of useful contiguous space around it. So you might, with that same concept, you might position that in a manner that you might, or lay out some furnishings and see how it works. But I think right now you'll find that it's in the way and you don't really have a contiguous area to put tables and chairs or stuff, or lounge seating or something. But so but I like the way you guys have, as a team, of kind of the circulation and the level changes, and there's just a lot of interesting and comfortable spaces. So there's a lot of good things you've done, and so I think with some of the other board's comments, it could get better, but I think you've done a great job, so thank you.
Dave, comments, please.
Yeah, given the site constraints and the oak trees, I can see why the garage is where it is, and I'm okay with the encroachment of the setback. My concerns would be screening to the neighbors. I don't know if that red section, the screening can continue, or if it makes sense for it to do that. But normally we don't have the paving go right up to the property line. My understanding on the north end is it's an existing driveway access and you're not changing that. And then the other thing, I'm just concerned about all that paving along Hot Springs. I would really ask that you consider reducing that area to what you need for the fire department. and not creating all that extra paving right off Hot Springs and increasing the landscaping there. And then as far as the garage goes, it's architecturally, it's compatible with the existing approved residence, so I'm okay with that.
Stacy, please.
I really appreciate the landscape design. I think it's, especially the original one, very sensitive to the site and the oak trees. And I really like the bridge element and the large oak in the front being preserved that way. I agree with Rob about the oak tree in the back patio. I also think it probably won't get through fire because it's closer than 15 feet. But also too, you'd have more usable space if you shifted it one way or the other. But the biggest concern, I think pulling traffic off of Hot Springs is good and entering off the backside through the easement. It's true because Hot Springs is a very busy road. And pulling in and out of Hot Springs with fast traffic is always unnerving. But I agree about the fire department. That's a very large pullout. I don't think they need that. And I think what's going to happen is it just becomes construction parking for that neighborhood. Because that's what happens everywhere now. That's it.
Mr. Chair, I forgot a technical issue that you might, I should probably bring to light if you allow me.
Please.
Technically, the fire department pullout has already been approved. It's not part of the proposal today. We just wanted to explain how it worked. However, I think we're sensitive to the comments that you're giving, and I'd be happy to talk to the fire department again. I think given that we've rearranged the upper driveway, it might be worth another conversation with them to see if they can be happy with that and see what can be done about that. I would assume that the owner isn't interested in finding more expense for the project, and obviously having to clear that area and make it all work is more expense and maintenance. It is not paved, it's gravel, but I think there, I'm taking your comments to heart, and I'm happy to go flesh that out further. But it is technically already approved as a part of the project. But we'll work on that item. That's all.
Okay, thank you. My comments is, it looks to me that one of the things you're doing is trying to take your undesirable elements, which is the fire department access and the driveway, and I hate to bring it up this way, but make it someone else's problem. And so that you can grab that nice landscaped area north of the house that's under I guess it's under construction. So you can get rid of that driveway. But by doing that, the north elevation of that proposed garage, which you're showing us, you said that's the most visible. Well, it's the least interesting architecturally of all of the elevations that you're showing us today, to say the least. And it's right there on the roadway leading off to not only your property, but to the it's one or two properties to the west that share that access. So you're kind of, and so that you can grab a nicer piece of landscaped area at the house. And I understand that. I understand self-interest motivations and all of that. But I wonder if there isn't another way to do this so that we don't have to have that issue become the neighbor's problem and not yours. So that would require, in my mind, probably a complete reconsideration of the location of where that garage structure is. And I would ask you to at least consider that. So those are my comments. Anybody else before we go, please?
Along those lines, I guess I'm wondering, if you move that garage further down to the south and move the driveway, I know it's existing, but, try to move that driveway in a little bit, that it might It looks like you have some room there to still preserve some oaks and that it might do some good things with landscaping around it and the nice curve you had there before and all that. I mean, I really liked that first scheme you did, felt really good. And so having that garage and ADU kind of compromises a little bit. So maybe you can grab some of what you did in the first scheme back by moving that a little.
So Chris, you're losing that 20-inch oak tree, right? The northernmost one, no matter what, under this
Yeah,
proposal.
with this proposal, yes.
Yeah, so that means that that garage could move to the south and still stay out of the drip line of the double 30-inch trunk,
Correct.
right? So, and then that might enable you to have a better access point for that, more landscaping, et cetera. That does not take care of the neighbor's issue about increased traffic. I don't know what that easement says. But, you know, if you've got a legal easement, you've got a legal easement. If not, that's a civil matter. That's not something before us.
Mr. Chair, can I, just to make sure we're understanding your comments, can I
Yes,
make
please.
a question or posit a question? We're taking to heart the safety issue. It's been my concern day one from this property. And I just want to see if we're in alignment here, because I think your comments are heading this direction, but I just want to make sure. My sense of this is two driveways is more dangerous than one. Like to have a driveway just to the south of that with potentially two people taking off in opposite directions has always bothered me about the original design. And the original design was kind of, I actually advocated for a north, and I think Chris did too, this access, single access to the neighborhood, originally the owners wanted that second separate driveway because that's what they were used to, and they don't want to have a shared access to their property. But we've always felt that having two driveways was that close to each other on the property was a little bit more dangerous than just having one. And then the effort of trying to widen the throat of that and clear away, make sure we have good visibility and mandate that into the plan so that, there's good visibility up and down. I mean, I'm in total agreement with the neighbor, like that throat needs to be done well and it needs to be safe as we can make it. And yes, there's an increased amount of, there'll be two more residences joining the use of that, but I think we're at a point now where we have an opportunity to make it wider and broader, or maybe even make it more visible. My question is, isn't two driveways more of a detriment? And of course, yes, the more we move the house down towards that larger oak, the more we encroach on it, but there is some room for that. It can happen. So we can, of course, study that. I don't think that's an issue, but just to the, is there kind of an opinion from the board about one or two driveways? Because if
Well, I didn't fully understand that at first that you were serving, that was a shared situation, but why not have the one driveway, move it down, and then and then try to accommodate access for the neighbors, then, with just do one driveway, but move it down, and then when you get, try to feather in those neighbors and access that.
Proposing. Yep, did you have some-
Also, real quick, one thing we didn't touch on was in that green zone there, that area of the site slopes up quite a bit, and especially from Hot Springs. So there'd be a major cut into that slope to get that access drive into the site as well.
yeah, removing the previous driveway reduces the amount of paved area on the site, which is a benefit to the Oaks. And just our board, as you know, we sit on another board. We're always trying to minimize driveways because they take up too much space usually. So this reduces that. It also reduces grading and potentially makes it safer. That's been our logic, but you have your view of that too. We just want to make sure.
I definitely do agree with you that we also try to make sure that most properties have one driveway instead of two. But in this case, I'm just not sure what's more preferable because you have a driveway now that's serving two properties behind Hot Springs. And this parcel is, Hot Springs. And personally, I don't mind a separate driveway for this one because it's down lower, it's more generous the way that you had. Can you turn back to the first site plan? Yeah, this one. It seemed to me, when I look at this, it's much more generous and easier to come in and out for this owner than try to come in through that easement and sharing that with two other properties. In terms of curb appeal, I think this is more preferable with a nice gate and nice entrance. And so, I like this. And so, and then, by doing the other thing now, like this one right here, at least on this one, I don't see the fire truck, turn out maybe it's already approved, as you said it, but it's getting much bigger. So I'm not sure what you're gaining, you combine one, but you're increasing the parking on Hot Springs and it just, and I'm not sure how tight it is to come out of that easement. And as, Chair Watson said, if you have an easement, then you have an easement. You just try to make the best out of it for the neighbors and everyone else. But personally, if at this property, I have a prefer to have my separate driveway coming in with a separate gate with a good distance from Hot Springs. And you can put the garage, you can put anything you want to within that and it doesn't affect anyone. That's just how I see it.
I thought there was a rule about a certain distance on a speed, like over 30 miles per hour, and that it had to be 75 feet from driveway entrance to new driveway entrance if you're proposing one. Has traffic looked at this? Is it 75 plus?
The plan shown here has been approved. It's gone through
Okay.
all the departmental reviews, so it's unfortunately, like, to the comments that have been made, we have studied this. If we create the separate drive as it is today and try to put the ADU at the top of the property, then it forces, the oak tree has been the major driving element of this design. So if we try to get a structure up there, then the driveway comes down and it definitely encroaches on the oak tree and we're probably going to kill it. And that oak tree came out of the ground during the Civil War. We don't want to touch it. Marvelous. And then it starts fighting with the throat of that private drive. So, what I'm hearing is pull the residents away from the private drive, create more landscape buffering. So if we did that and put a driveway through there, it's likely that, we're going to end up encroaching in that oak tree and the whole concept of the bridge goes away because it's no longer needed because we're going to kill the oak. I mean, Chris has been pretty emphatic with me. I mean, he's been pretty much in charge of the project from day one around where things go.
Okay, we have to wrap this up. Tip, one more comment and then we're done on this one for today.
Yeah, so back to, I'm trying to make it a little more simplified, either one driveway or two driveways, that actually is not as much of a concern for me as much as the parking along Hot Springs, because it's one of the nice thing about Hot Springs is that, or East Valley Road or East Mountain Drive, you really don't see any parking along the road. That's just the way it is. It's been very nice. You only see a lot of cars like on a smaller street like Orchards and things like that. So now you have something that I assume that people will park and use it. Why not? And suddenly it changes the way that beautiful drive, Hot Springs, all the way from Coast Village up to East Valley Road. I guess that's really my main concern.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 2, 220 Hot Springs Road. Is there anybody with us today okay, very good. Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes, thank you.
Okay, hello. My name is Adam Bressler. I'm an architect. Most of my projects are hillside new construction homes in Los Angeles, mainly Hollywood Hills area. The owners of this property, Vanessa and Gaspar, are here with me today.
Afternoon. Gaspar is the civil engineer for the project, and Sasa Shibaline, landscape architect from Arcadia Studio, is also on the call. David, can we see the existing site plan? Right, that one.
Last one, David, down.
This is good. I want to explain the existing and then we'll look at the proposed. The site currently contains a 2-story single-family dwelling with a detached garage. Currently, a wide driveway, that's sort of the brick-looking pattern, cuts across most of the yard on the north side of the house to reach the detached garage. The house sits on the south side of the lot, which doesn't allow for much usable open space. And then, David, can we go to the next page? This is good. Okay. We are proposing 340 square foot detached accessory structure. Table 2 of the guidelines allows for 389 square feet. 800 square foot attached 3-car garage with basement and attic excluded from net floor area per the guidelines. That'll replace the existing garage that's going to be torn down. 240 square foot addition to the existing dwelling. This exceeds table 1 of the guidelines. Remodel of the existing dwelling, which will include interior configuration of the primary bedroom suite, renovation of kitchen and bathrooms, and enlarging and replacing some windows and doors. An 800 square foot ADU, 1-story, and a swimming pool are under construction with framing and plumbing starting next week. So the swimming pool is on the far right side, that's the rear yard. The detached ADU is on the upper north corner, and then hot springs is there on the left. The intent of the proposed site plan is to create an outdoor social area and children's play area on the north side of the house. Most of the driveway, about 2,000 square feet, will be removed and 750 square feet will be relocated towards the front yard. The existing access will be maintained. The detached garage will be demolished and the new attached garage will be built closer to the street. It will have an entirely below-grade basement and an attic. The attic will eventually be converted into a junior ADU. The first floor addition to the house will contain the front entry door and serve as a foyer and will link the new garage to the existing house. The detached accessory structure will be used as a yoga studio, meditation room, and office. The layout, besides maximizing usable space, will help some of the traffic noise to the back of the house. And then finally, a small 300 square foot detached powder room with outdoor shower will be included in the next submittal. It will be tucked in the rear yard behind the house and out of view from the street. The goal of the project is to enhance the functionality of the existing home and outdoor areas, add usable new space, and create a cohesively styled Spanish modern property. David, can we go to the cover sheet? The proposed square footages are in line with the suggested square footages in the guidelines, although we would like to ask for a bit more square footage for the approximately 240 square foot addition to the house. This new front door entry and foyer will enhance the aesthetics as well as the function of the home. And then I'd like to go through the plans. These are diagrams. Next page. So these are the existing photos of the existing house. So we can see the view arrows. I'm not sure if you can see that from there. But you can see the large driveway up on the top that cuts across the north. Next page. Next page.
The proposed project will harmonize with Montecito's architectural style and the surrounding environment. Santa Barbara stucco roof shingles, black framed and gridded windows and doors, flat roofs, tan-colored concrete with exposed aggregate with matching paver border, stone pavers and steps, Santa Barbara sandstone will be used. Most of the existing trees will be maintained and extensive landscaping will be added. The project will have minimal environmental impact. The majestic oak trees on the site will be preserved. The oak tree in the front, along with the dense privacy hedge, will limit the visibility of the new structures from the right-of-way. Solar panels and fire zone materials will be provided and more energy efficient systems will be used. The landscaping will be revamped and stormwater control plans will be integrated. The amount of paving used for access and parking has been limited to only what is needed for parking, turning, and ingress and egress. The new structures will be 1 story and are broken up to allow for beautiful landscape spaces between the structures. The proposed height will assure privacy for this property as well as the adjacent neighbors and will not impair views from neighboring sites. I would like to, let's go through the rest. So this is actually this one. So this is looking at the sort of the front right inside the entry gate. So the detached accessory structure is on the far right. The attached garage is sort of in the middle. And then on the left is the ADU that's being built right now. And then the next rendering down, right here. So we see the far right is the detached accessory structure. You see a bit of the existing house in the background, the new garage, and then the ADU under construction on the left. Next slide. And then top picture is the new foyer between the house and the garage. And then the next rendering down is at the back of the property, at the edge of the pool, looking back towards the existing house on the left. And then in the background, you see a little bit of the attached garage and the ADU. Next page. The upper rendering is looking at the back of the garage and sort of the back of the foyer. And then the next one is the back of the garage on the left, and then the ADU under construction on the right. The windows and doors are kind of oriented to this new play and outdoor social area in the northern part of the site. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Wait, okay, we're done with this PDF. And then could you open the landscape plan? Here it is. So Sasha, are you here?
Yeah, I'm on.
Oh, okay. I'd like to introduce Sasha to talk about the landscape plan.
Hi, yeah, my name's Sasha and I'm with Arcadia Studio. So this submittal also includes some of our site improvements, so I'll just go over generally the planting design. So starting with along Hot Springs Road, a lot of this is existing. We're keeping the existing apron, DG paths, and hedge that runs along the front wall. The gate will also remain where it is. We'll just be incorporating some new planting, which will complement what already exists on Hot Springs Road. So we're incorporating carex, ceanothus, some agaves, and aloes. And then when you enter into the property, the driveway, this new orientation helps a lot because currently you have to back out onto Hot Springs Road, which, as we were just discussing, it's a very highly trafficked road. So this allows for more turnaround, and the materiality, we're looking at exposed aggregate concrete and a paver border, and then incorporating Santa Barbara sandstone as the curbing. And then moving into the patio spaces, we're considering a porcelain tile in the tan family to complement the driveway. And then moving to the back, we are proposing artificial turf. The northern patch that's a bit larger is proposed, and then there's a patch to the south that's existing. So looking to match that and just provide more space for the owner to enjoy it with his family. And for the planting, we can go to the next sheet. So this is just showing our water calculations. We're well within the allocated allowance. And so the next sheet shows our planting zones. We're still in the preliminary phase, but on the last sheet, if you go one more, this shows our overall palette. We're going for a tropical look, but in the more modern sense where it's low water use, incorporating a lot of succulents and agaves for texture, deep greens and pops of color. And we're proposing for accent tree, we have Hong Kong orchid, and then we'll have citrus and pots. And at the very bottom, you can see some of those materials that I called out, the exposed aggregate. For our tertiary pathways around the property, we're proposing granitecrete, again in that tan family. And then we have the porcelain paver and the Bellegarde around the driveway. And that's all for now.
Are you all done then, please?
Yes.
Adam? Questions? Robert, please.
This is a question probably more for Kimberly, but I'd like to see a Google map. That pool is that allowed? I know it's allowed to be in a rear yard, but is it allowed to be in a side yard setback?
Kimberly?
To meet both the front and side yard setbacks.
Say it again louder.
The pool needs to meet the front and side yard setbacks.
Well, it looks to me like it's in the side yard.
I believe we have it outside of the setbacks, including the pool equipment. You can see them in the dash lines or setbacks.
Oh, I see. So it's only a 5-yard setback on the side.
Can I chime in?
Yes.
It's a 5-foot required rear and side yard for the pool. It's the part of the code that talks about accessory structures, and there's a special part about pools.
Do
The
we
structure
have
is
a
actually-
Google map of the neighbors? I mean, setbacks are there for a reason. They're to keep noise and people away from people, and I'm concerned.
So Robert, if the pool is located entirely within the rear yard, there is no side yard setback in that 25-foot swath that constitutes the rear
okay.
yard. So it can be up to 5 feet from both property lines. So it is outside of the side yard setback, in the rear yard setback, and 5 feet from the property lines.
Gotcha. Okay, it just looks to me like this is a pretty aggressive proposal, and I want to make sure that we're not cramming too much in, but that's probably for comments, not questions. So I defer.
Are you done then? Dave, please, questions?
Is there a second floor to the garage or living space or something going on there?
The garage will have an attic.
So it's not living space, it's storage? or-
It will turn into a junior ADU.
Yeah. So basically it has a pitched roof, so it'll be an attic. We want to utilize the JADU allowance to convert attics to JADUs.
Okay, so it's there to be a junior ADU.
Yes.
And then it looks like there's a proposed driveway gate, or is that existing?
Existing.
Have you reviewed that with the fire department?
Yes.
And they're okay with it?
We got an exception for being 25 feet away from the street.
Those are my questions. Thanks.
Stacy, questions, please.
What are the large existing trees that you're keeping in the front?
So the one that,
There's, oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, Sasha.
Oh, yes, there's, to the north, that's a large pittosporum, and then to the south on the front property, that's a large oak that we're protecting. And then the two trees looking more towards the east are two oaks that will remain as well.
And is there, by the large oak in the front, is there pavement existing under it that close to the trunk at this point?
No, and maybe Gasper could speak more to how the driveway intersects with that, as it's a special detail.
Yes, we're actually proposing an above-grade deck to avoid any grading under the, within a certain distance from the trunk.
So you're putting in retaining walls below and then extending the deck and bridging it over?
We haven't designed, the structure, but basically we're gonna do micro piles. We're gonna hand dig to make sure that there's no impact or little impact to the roots. We're gonna have piles and a deck above grade, probably about 12 inches to 18 inches above grade.
Over the entire extent of where the canopy reaches out?
Over most of the, I would say, about 5 to 6 feet from the garage. The actual accessory structure, the smaller building, is going to be above grade as well. So we're not doing the canopy plus the 6 feet, but we're doing most of it.
Did you look at studying the garage at a different angle on the site so that when the gate is open, and also looking over the gate, that you're not seeing this large wall of glass from the street lit up at night? How is that being shielded?
We consider a few things. One of the things is that if you stand on hot springs, there's a lot of vegetation that doesn't let you see the inside very well. That oak tree goes well over the driveway and will shield most of the new structure.
Can we go and look at the pictures from the street view, David? Which one is the street view? There.
Keep going down,
With the gate open?
down, there, up, up,
Mhm.
up, there, this one.
Oh, no, the
mean a
photos of the
Google-
existing condition.
A Google Maps type of
Yeah, exactly.
street.
Because I drove by it today. I drive by it all the time. And it was very visible with the gate open, but also too, just the site. And I could see construction, probably for your ADU going on. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So we now have a solid gate, a solid 6-foot gate. So for privacy.
And were other materials explored for the lawn other than AstroTurf? What was kind of the decision to do a fake lawn as opposed to a real lawn when there's not a whole lot of vegetation or green on this site relative to the building massings and the hardscapes?
That was through our conversations with the client and the way that his family intends to use this space, just having kids out there that will be getting wet from the pool and just keeping it a more clean surface.
We play soccer with cleats. You had grass yards that get destroyed. And besides, you know, we like to conserve water as well. So this would be a good marriage between luscious landscaping and lawn.
So currently we have.
And yeah, currently we have turf in two places already.
No further questions?
Rob, questions, please.
I always call it synthetic turf. I don't let people call it AstroTurf. I personally I think I'm okay with it. Sorry, Stacy. And there's some nice products out there that are that they've gotten much better with it. So I'm okay with it. So but I'm having a hard time, trying to understand what's existing and what's new. But as far as the proposed garage in there, did you look at other ways to site that and to place that? Relative to, I guess, could you help me? Is anything, is everything being redone here with what, I'm still confused on that as far as the site plan goes. Are you keeping any buildings out there or what's,
The ADU is under construction and the pool. We're done with footings and the pool.
so the garage is the new piece to this?
Yes, the garage.
Okay, so and did you folks look at other ways to site the garage? And the reason I ask is because the front door seems to be kind of, and kind of the sense of arrival is kind of seems to be lost, that you drive in and the first thing you see is a garage. So I'm just wondering whether you studied other options of siting the garage so that you maintain kind of that sense of arrival, the front door.
Yeah, we looked at different layouts. And yeah, we wanted to maximize the patio area in the back. And fit the ADU as well. So and we reworked the entrance sort of so it looks more inviting, even though it's a little tucked in.
But also,
The foyer, yeah.
but also we were working with, backup clearances and the oak tree there. So we were trying to create the big yard on the north side. So that's kind of the spot that made the most sense. It couldn't really tuck down on the south because of the oak tree. That was, yeah.
So you have the nice cobbled driveway that you're getting rid of, and then you basically are, what is the proposed driving surface?
It's
The
the
water course.
exposed aggregate with a paver band around it.
Um,
And
okay, and then, well, the other thing I didn't understand is what was the discussion about lifting something up? Where was that occurring? Next to that oak tree right there across from the new driveway, you're lifting I didn't understand that part of it.
yes, we're gonna have a deck above grade, so we don't grade,
You're floating the driveway up.
floating
above
the driveway.
Okay, I'll have to see that detail. Okay, I have no questions, more questions, thank you.
Tip, please, questions.
David, can you go back to the rendering at the front? Yep, that one. The second one. Yes. Okay, so I just want to have a better understanding. So this is the brand new building,
The attached garage, yes.
and the ceiling, the garage is, how tall is that?
There's a plan that shows the
Well, just-
foot line.
It's just from now here, from the finished floor to the top of the eave line. How many feet is that?
I have to look at, I don't know off the top of my head. It's not that tall. It's about 10, something like that.
So the doors are 8 feet,
Yes,
and then they're about 2 feet of glass.
yes.
And then above that is your proposed JADU.
Yeah, we can't propose it yet, but because it has to be an
So
existing
what you
attic.
are trying to do is that you need to have the building approved.
Yes,
And then after the building approved, then you can go back to the planning and say, look, we meet the requirements, so allow us to convert to the JADU. Yeah, I understand. So what is the maximum height from the ground to the peak?
sorry, I don't know this off the top of my head. Can you go to the elevations. So actually one back,
Where you
oh
were.
wait, you just passed it. There. That one.
One more. I think.
There it is.
Right there on the
Yeah,
left,
okay.
on the left corner. $11,200 plus 17, is that what it is?
17 is the
11,
second
2,
half.
12, 8.
12,800.
Oh, 12, so
2310.
about 23, 24 feet.
I think there's another mark on the next one over. Oh, okay, it's still broken up, okay. So on the back, that wall is a little bit shorter because of the change in grade.
The existing grade is at 147 or is lower.
Give or take, yeah.
Which way?
It's shown on the existing site plan, I believe, because it's,
We're filling a few feet at the back of the garage to make the, that backyard area.
Because of, this is the backyard.
yes.
And then I see some steps. Are you bringing the ground up? Because one of the renderings showed that there's some steps coming to the back.
Yes, that's those steps.
Okay, can you go to back to that rendering? I'm just trying to have a better understanding of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the second one again. All right, so there are some steps to the left of the garage.
Yes. So
Is it the raise, you raising the whole ground? Because right now the side is flat, you drive to the back.
it's not exactly flat. There's a bit of a slope, but Gus,
To 10%
yeah.
slope.
So right now it's sloping from the street to the garage. And now you are trying to make it a flat area.
Exactly. So we're feeling closer to the proposed garage structure, and we're not grading very much by the oaks in the backyard. So basically, we took the elevations of the oaks in the backyard and we worked from.
To flat everything out.
We designed based on that, yeah, not.
And how are you dealing with the property lines when you flat everything out? Are you building retaining wall to supporting the left and the right?
We're not doing any retaining walls in the property lines. It just blends well with the proposed elevations. The existing condition, there is a small wall that we're gonna be removing, and basically our grades are more in conjunction with the neighbor's property line elevations.
So how did that affect the existing house when you flat everything out? Is the existing house to the right, the new garage, is it much lower or is it higher now?
It's higher. The finished floor is higher, and since the outside slopes, there's one area of the house where the finished floor is maybe 2-3 feet higher than.
So you're keeping the existing finished floor of the existing house the
Yes.
same?
Exactly. We're making.
And so the way it works now, the existing floor, the existing house is about 2 feet or 3 feet higher than the garage.
Near the front property.
Because the way it's sloping up, the garage is higher in the back.
Exactly.
And so the way you're doing it now is that you keep your FAR 1.08. 1.08, the FAR.
1.08.
108.
1.08, 108.
Yes, we're exceeding a little.
I'm sorry, 1.1108. Because, and this excluding anything that you don't have to include, like the attic space, the separate buildings, all of that.
Correct.
However, you do show a new accessory building.
Yes, that's per table 2 of the guidelines. So the calculation allows for 389 and we're doing 378, 344.
Have you any idea what is the average FAR in the whole neighborhood?
I believe we have the study in here. Next page. Next page. Next page. If you zoom in here,
So
there it is.
so it's all about 110 or less.
Mhm.
There's one that's 150, 160 something,
Okay, yeah, that's all I have.
153 over there.
About 30 years ago, 1992, the community got together, went to the Board of Supervisors and said, would you review a community plan so that we can maintain the wonderfulness of Montecito? And the primary land use goal was maintain and preserve the residential, low-intensity, semi-rural quality of the community. It seems to me that you're asking to pull, and then the state of California, God bless them, said, we don't care about the beauty of California. We care about pretending to add housing, ADUs, junior ADUs, and things like that. And so they've carved out some exceptions, which, at least my experience has been, people don't act in Montecito, don't actually use them for rental housing, which is what they were there for. They're using them to get more and more and to negate, to walk around the lower intensity quality that and higher landscape quantity that we would have in a semi-rural environment. Okay, as background. Given that, why should we approve something that is intentionally designed to just be much taller than a garage, much taller than an attic, just so that you know you can get some additional square footage, where if we didn't approve that and just said it's not consistent with the architecture, which has no glass, particularly on the second floor like this, and I'm not sure about the roof slope, you know, just keep everything low intensity. Taking Stacy's comment, I drove by and it's kind of low and recessed, and all of a sudden it's got lots of glass and reflectivity, particularly in the afternoon because it's west facing. So why should we approve that? That's the question. It's not required. We're under no requirement to do that. Why should we do that, please?
Regarding the height of the garage.
And the reflective qualities of it and things of that nature. Please, why should we do that?
The existing garage has a roof that's pitched similarly. So we're kind of trying to keep the same feel of what's there already.
It's a two-story building though, 24 feet. This is not a garage. This is a two-story building that you're proposing, please.
Yes, if I may speak, I'm Vanessa, I'm
Sure.
also owner. So we're not getting rid of really any landscaping that's already there. What we're really losing is this really long driveway that's actually extremely impractical and really hard to like turn around and to get out of, and then the cars like back each other up. It's like a very impractical use of space, and it's taking up so much of the lot. And so what we are trying to propose is to create more landscaping and more places of enjoyment, which like Montecito is all about the outdoors and about that for families, for our family. And then, and we do plan actually on renting parts of it. So like, I do think there is a shortage of housing. I work in real estate and there is a shortage of housing in Montecito. And so I think like being able to to rent parts of the house, or even for business or for, I mean, depends, but mostly for, rental for whatever. And we're also open to amending things that if you think that, for example, the glass, it's too much glass or it's too high, like that can be amended.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 220 Hot Springs Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, we are on for concept. This is our first meeting, same order. Robert?
Excuse me.
Yes,
I wanted to answer your question about the height and the reflectivity.
yes, please.
Well, actually, the oak is going to be about 10 feet from, like, in front of this structure. So it's gonna be shielded from the sunlight or from reflectivity. So if you're on Hot Springs, you're not gonna see any shine from the sun because it's gonna be well shielded. And we've just planted new hedging to actually, shield even more, because we're trying to minimize the noise from Hot Springs. At certain hours, it's very noisy. So
Adam, what is the pitch of the existing house, please? Roof pitch, please.
Sorry, I didn't,
That's okay.
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can look at the,
Somewhere. No, not there.
gist of the garage is that the pitch, instead of doing a flat roof, yes, it's nice to have an attic, but it's also trying to have some relationship to the existing house, which is also a,
I don't know where it is, but it's probably up. This is a very steep pitch roof. Up, please. Oh, okay, let's look at the photos. That's not, okay, very good. So there's the original house. My guess, 5 and 12 is a guess?
maybe, there's a second story up there.
Okay, very good. Public comment we're done with. For a 5 agenda meeting, this is certainly taking a long time. Okay, comments, Robert?
I'm a bit concerned about when it's all said and done that this is a large amount of development. And, if you look at an FAR, really, when it's done, it's gonna be pretty high. And I'm flummoxed by the slope of the garage. I'm a car guy, so I understand what they're doing. I know what they're doing. They're gonna put lifts in and stack cars, which makes sense because you can get 4 cars in there instead of just 2. But to me, it's incongruous with the rest of the architecture with those steep roofs. I think there needs to be some dialing in. It's not that far off, but it's not there yet. And again, it's just seems to be a lot of development for the size of the property. I don't know. Maybe it's working with the FARs the way they stand, but it just, the site plan looks like everything is just crammed in there, and it's a little bit too aggressive. That's it for me.
Dave, comments, please.
Yeah, I actually like a lot of the aspects of the project. I like that you're adaptively reusing the existing structures that are there. You're protecting the oak tree. I think creating that protected courtyard area in the back that you can use. And I'll let the landscape architects argue about the what did you want to call it? Synthetic lawn. But so in general, if you're going to do this much development on this little property, I think your site planning makes sense. I also like the orientation of the garage where it isn't just facing the street and it's offset and you have that oak, so you have that working for you. But immediately when I looked at the project, the garage just looked out of scale for everything, the house, for the property. And I was trying to figure out why that is, and it sounds like it's a combination of having that junior ADU above and also having a very high garage space in itself. So I think this board typically, when you have a garage that's visible from the street, we want to reduce the impacts. And of course, it's all glass too. So I think really for me to approve this project, you need to take another look at that garage and scale it down. I would highly suggest going to an 8-foot ceiling in the garage space itself so that it brings it down. I'm not necessarily opposed to the glass if things reduce down. I think it's intriguing, the way you've kind of wrapped that all in with the new entry and everything, but it's just, you're asking for a lot, and right now I feel like the garage has really crossed the line. But in general, I appreciate a lot of the things in the direction you're going.
Stacy, comments, please.
When I think of Montecito, just in Santa Barbara too, in general, when it comes to materials, a lot of times we use a lot of the endemic materials, the natural native stones and a lot of the native plantings as well. And I think in this project, we're using a lot of synthetic turf, synthetic porcelain tiles instead of using like a real stone. I like to see it that you consider using more of the native qualities of the actual area to kind of pull in more of the vernacular. I think it's way too high of a structure for a garage, and the glazing, I think especially at night, is going to be very imposing on the road as you drive up. I know you think that right now you don't see it because of the oak tree, but oak trees get trimmed all the time. And especially when the fire department comes around and says you have to, and then suddenly everyone on the street can see it, especially with the big glazing on the second story at night. So I think that should be reconsidered. And then too, yes, it's nice spaces on the interior for you, but also to think about how it's imposing on the neighbors. I think that was Robert's comment about the pool placement, but I know you're already in construction on it. Just considering too the impacts of the elements and how they relate to each other on the site, not just how they relate to your lives too. That's it.
Rob, comments, please.
I kind of agree with some of the comments from Dave. What I'm struggling with is I like kind of a hierarchy of elements on the site, and I like, in the front door to a house, there's a sense of arrival, and that you can clearly, infer where the front door is without needing to put a sign there. And when I drive in there, I mean, I'm seeing steps on the left of the garage, and then the garage is so dominant that where your house is and your front door is so tucked away around the back. I mean, I don't think looks like trying to find your front door is going to be hard. I would feel better, I guess, if like the next time you came back, if you had some rough concept stuff and showed some other site layouts that you explored and why this one works the best in there. I mean, you don't have to do anything real elaborate from me, but I'm thinking there's maybe a better way to kind of lay some of this stuff out, or maybe not. And maybe it's as simple as addressing kind of the garage and kind of diminishing that a little bit more, and kind of elevating, the sense of arrival with the front door. But I know I don't like, one of the number one killer on it for me is driving into a really nice piece of property and the first thing I see is garage doors. So I think, from a real estate standpoint, that's kind of a no-go for me. But I don't mind some of your, the synthetic turf. I like the modern style. I think there's a lot of good things you've done. I just think it needs to be kind of looked at so that you can convince the board that this is the best solution for that site. And maybe within that context, you can kind of bring in some of the more rural qualities that the board looks for in Montecito. So, thank you.
Yep, comments, please. So
I sort of do agree with Mr. Mandro here. That, I think you have a very creative solution, I think, to make it a interesting, exciting project. And but when I look at this, I actually like the design, but I realize that that's where my liking stopped because there's a lot of factors. I like the direction, but before I come about the mass walking and scale issue, when you decided to completely change the look of the house, which right now, they are non-descriptive 50s, whatever that is, to something that I think that actually beautiful and very interesting. I look at changing the whole property from the gate all the way into the front to the main house. And I'm sure that when you do this, you have probably to change the gate. The gate doesn't go with the house. And that's something that we also review. And then when I look at this, you can see the main house is to the right of the garage. It's almost like, I'm not sure what you're doing to that, how to bring everything up to what you're trying to do here, which I think probably this is one of the best angle of the house. But when you go around the project, I'm not sure, have you looked at that, or are you trying to do anything to it? Or if just like, this is the view. So that is one concern I have. And and then, I'm looking at the distance of this thing, which is over 20 feet tall, 23, 24 feet, which is technically a two-story building in Montecito. And we usually require story poles or things like that. And so, and I look at this in relation to the front property line. It seems like your motor court is about 20 feet wide, 22 feet wide. And I think that just to get out is tight. Because the garage is about 20, 21 feet. Look like the motor court about 20, 21 feet. So even that to maneuvering in and out, I think is tight. So the massing, the concern, and then this is the really interesting topic because, as Mr. Watson said, you have so many ADUs, JADUs, all state law. We can't do anything about it, but that's how people kind of max out on what legally they cannot do. And normally, we see a lot of projects that we got approval, and then the applicant go ahead and build the ADU because we don't want to deal with that. We don't see it. In your case, it's a little reverse. You build the ADU, then you come back and try to get the main project approved. So even though obviously we can't comment on it, but it's there because you building it as you said it. And then, you're adding the attic, and we know that it's not calculated, but it's going to be, it had to do with the issue of mass walking scale. We know that it's added to the bottom line, and even though that it's not a JADU yet. So when we look at that, we look at the accessory building. I just realized personally that, this is a big project for the size of the lot. And I look at the FARs of all the surrounding properties, and they are about 110%, down to 86%, what you've shown. And because of that, it just, I'm looking at this, even though I like it, but I think the mass booking scale and how close, to Hot Springs. And it's something, myself personally, I drive that road every day 4 times. Some of you don't, but I do. I live in Montecito, and I've seen a lot of things, and this is something that we, as locals, we pay attention to, because it's not like people only seeing that once every month or one every 2 months. It's something that we who live in Montecito, we see it all the time. So because of that, I'm actually, I'm a little concerned about it. And you're right, maybe the oak tree will conceal it, but with so much glass in it, at nighttime and the height. Yeah, I like the direction. If you can make it work, knowing what we know, then, it'd probably be approvable. But as of now, I will definitely have a problem trying to approve it.
I have to say, I think the glass triangle, I understand what you're saying, but I think at night it would be beautiful. It's a very, in terms of the other massing, that's kind of all you would see. You'd see vegetation, you'd see this sort of slightly illuminated lantern-y kind of shape. So, I mean, I, I think it's a good thing. You're not going to see with the gate closed and all the landscaping, you're not going to see the lower part of it. You would just see this peak coming out.
So garages to me are accessory buildings, not primary buildings. What you have here is the tallest building on the lot in the most prominent location with the most amount of light, with the most amount of glass. This is not a secondary building. This is the statement. Okay, I get it. But that's not a garage. That's a residence, a tiny residence with a large garage below it. Okay. I don't think that that's really what we were thinking when we wrote the guidelines 30 years ago about the exclusion on the garages. What we were thinking about is accessory buildings, diminutive, secondary, recessive, those kinds of words, not primary, largest, dominant, not those words. So I'm not going to vote for this. It's not up for a vote today, but if you came back with this, I'm not going to do it. I do note that an ADU, which we have no comments about, has a flat roof. Is that a yoga studio? Is that how you guys have it claimed there on the right? It has a flat roof.
Yeah.
These are the new structures, and all of a sudden, we don't have a flat roof because we want to jam something in there, but it would be consistent if it were the entry statement to the property had a flat roof on it and diminutive in character would be consistent with this, with some kind of a more subtle door. It doesn't have to be pure glass and things like that. So I understand the FAR probably better than anyone else in the world. The one guy that helped write it is with me, is now no longer with us. And this is not what we had any ideas on. So yes, it's a mathematical game, and I understand the game as well as anybody. But, the game has some parameters to it too, in terms of guiding us towards things that are diminutive. And it was primarily written to maintain and preserve the low intensity residential semi-rural character of this property. This is more urban in my mind than it is landscape, that it's filled with vegetation that settle all of these buildings back. They're right up against the setbacks and things of that nature. So while I understand there's a difference between ministerial, which is what the pool is, or is in your case, and the ADU is ministerial, and discretionary, which is what this board is. The reason Montecito is beautiful is because of discretion, not because of just the written words on a white piece of paper. I can't vote for this. I think it needs to be toned down as much as possible, and then I would love to take another look at it. Okay?
Do you think, so if we did just a regular attic, at what point does the attic become too, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it a 7-foot clearance inside of the ridge, or, because
I think the garage needs to be diminutive, putting an attic in. And if you have an 8-foot plate or 9-foot plate on a garage, which is very common, and a 4 and 12 or 5 and 12 roof on it, but I don't see any sloped roofs here in the front. I see you guys going out of your way to do everything to make it modern, including the joint between the existing house and this garage. Everything is a flat roof. So what is it? Is this a flat roof project or is this a sloping roof project? Please, what is it? Consistency of architecture. is one of the guidelines, and you guys are just throwing that away. Anyway, we are being recorded. You can go and listen to us again. One quick comment, yes, no?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think where I was driving at was, and it was maybe even study like this entry, this driveway entry into the site that maybe, I just think you have some pieces there, and I think if you try to rearrange and work with the site plan, I think there's some better options and that you can have what you want. I just think there's a better way to do it, so.
I have a quick
Madam-
question. So the house, the existing structure and the existing garage are pitched. Does that mean that everything has to be pitched, or can we do everything else flat?
Well, what you guys did was, we have a pitch and we really want it because we kind of want to get something even more. So we're going to call it pitch there, but we're having everything else flat. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think this is your project. You have to decide. It's not our project.
Thank you so much for all the comments. If we come back, so we plan to, less amount of space, like kind of lower some of the,
Let's see.
to make the
And you know what,
the garage less. Yeah.
I really don't believe that it can be, we approve project is a combo of slope and flat, it doesn't mean that you have to be completely flat, completely pitch.
We've already got flat and pitched on the
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, so you just have to do it in the way, you heard about the FAI intent, the guidelines and the mass spoken scale, and that's what you had to address, I mean, it's really coming down to that. It's not like we said, get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to having the combination, but it's about the mass bulk scale. So really look at reducing the scale.
Well, let's
Thank
put
you.
that
For
down.
some reason, a short agenda, a long meeting. Can't figure it out.
Interesting projects, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, San Ysidro Ranch, for some reason you have a 0 on your address.
That is correct.
I don't know why it's 0. Okay, so I don't think your project is that difficult. So let's see what we can do about item number 4. Item 3, at the applicant's request, was continued. So this is item number 4, San Ysidro Ranch. I have no idea what the address is. Something San Ysidro Road.
It's 900.
Yeah, okay, 900.
No, no. So there's a conflict between, so the address you put in your application is completely wrong. It's a different parcel. This parcel in the assessor's office is what this is. I spoke to the planner about it. It's not wrong.
It's weird. Okay,
So if you want to reference it, just go by the parcel.
can we start with the photographs and, yeah,
Yes, please. I think that's a great place to start. We have, David, do you have the existing?
yeah,
There you
that guy
go.
right there.
So, I mean, this is the current pool house, and basically what we're looking at doing is developing something that meets the needs of the visitors, but also is more in alignment with the architectural style of other buildings on the property. We also submitted a material board, which shows very much the style that we're going for, where it's, painted board and bat, it's wood doors and windows, it's an Ipe guardrail, it's Cherokee Creek for stone decks and stairs, and then we have a typical light fixture that we're going to be utilizing on the building. So this gives you a good assembly of kind of the style that we're going to bring to this structure. It is an addition to the existing building, but we're going to veneer everything with new materials. Currently, it's just under, I think, 460 square feet, and we're doing a little over an 800 square foot addition to that to increase the program and have a nicer structure at the pool. So if you want to go through the drawing set, I think we can probably go through it pretty quick. So this is the site plan. It's the survey. We are actually towards the northern end of it. I don't know if I need to point out. It's north is to the right, correct? Yep. And you can actually kind of spot the shape of the pool there, but this is a blow up of that area. So if you look 3/4 of the way to the right, you'll see the shape of the pool with the radius. And then the next page is a close-up there that shows the building, the proposed building and its connection to East Mountain Drive. And then the next page, we've got details of the stairs and deck, et cetera. Next. So this is the floor plan for the fitness center, and you know, you actually have the existing plan on the top of the sheet, and then we have the full plan below it. Next. So this is the roof plan. We got the deck, and we have our connection to the eastbound drive to the left side of the sheet. Next. Elevations call out, you know, we're doing concrete Class A roof tiles that match other roofs on the property. And you can see the placement of the light fixtures at the openings. And next. Building sections. And then we can move through the rest of the package. We've got information on the doors and the windows.
We are on for concept. So are
Yep.
you done with?
So we
your
don't
cons-
need
You're
to go
done?
through all those. Yep.
Okay. Heidi, you're good? I'm glad you came back and we waited for you. Okay, so questions, Dave?
The light fixture looked like the scale of them is quite a bit larger. Is it still the same style?
There are two different scales. There's a smaller one at the smaller doors, but at the great opening, it is a larger version of that.
Same one, and they're dark sky compliant.
It's what? Oh, yes, that's correct. Yeah, it's a frosted lens and the lights in the hood so that everything is directed onto the property. Correct.
Rob, questions, please.
Is the pool's existing?
Correct. Yeah, the pool and that deck there is existing. So
What is that paving on the pool?
it's Cherokee Creek.
Okay, do we have any pictures of?
Yeah, that first
Picture,
photo.
could you show that again?
Right there.
Yep.
Not much room between the building and the pool, huh? Okay, that's my only question for now.
Casey, questions, please.
No questions.
Kip, questions?
How big is the pool? How big is the pool?
The pool.
Might be in the statistics on the cover sheet. This is a very big, complicated development plan that's been in place for many years. So we might have a hard time finding it on there, but it may be noted.
I can look and see if I've got it on the sheets while we discuss other
Small.
items.
It's not very large.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it looks small to me. That's why I'm asking. And I'm just trying to phrase my question properly. It's usually, you know, yeah, you do a pool house to go with the pool. But this case seemed to be reversed, like you had the pool to go with the house. Or what I'm trying to say that, have you looked at the proportion of one to the others? Currently, the pool house look like a pool house. Right now, you see the house, you don't see the pool because the scale of it is so diminishingly small with your new project. So that's my number one comment. Question, I mean, and number two, if you go to, David, can you go back to the elevation? I mean, maybe it's a drawing. I really have a problem trying to understand the scale and the proportion of your elevation. You know, I see the humongous opening seem to be 7 feet high, run 30 feet. I'm not sure what, and then I see the loop-sided roof. One side you have an overhang, the other side you don't have an overhang. Then I see the flat area to the left. It seemed like visually, it seemed like it's been added slowly through time, and you make it bigger. So, and this, I know you try to show some images of what the ranch looked like, which I've been by man, now I know what it looked like. So Explain to me, at least I just don't see how which relate to the ranch.
Yeah, well, the opening there is intended to be open, so it's an interior, exterior space. So those doors actually pocket in on both sides of the opening. So that when it's open during the day, it's completely open to the pool deck. As far as the overhang on the left side, we do have a roof deck. So if we had an overhang on that side, it would encroach into the roof deck space. So, you know,
I just wanted to clarify the additional space is going to accommodate some new restrooms as well as showers and a Pilates addition for context.
yeah, the fitness portion of it is kind of a popular space and it's very cramped right now. So we're expanding that in addition to the bathrooms.
Mr. Chair, can I add one piece of information that may supplement Tip's comment?
Chip, is.
Oh, is he
are you
going?
Done with your question? Yeah. Let's get to you afterwards. I'll get you, Robert, questions?
No questions.
I have no questions. Rob?
So, I mean, the county requires, to do like new pool houses. I don't know if this applies to you, but that the pools are like, have to be 45 feet long and
Residential.
so, okay, so that's why I didn't know if that applied. All right. That's why I thought.
Okay, public comment. Everybody okay? Public comment. So anybody here want to address the board on 0 San Ysidro Road? Item number 4, please.
No requests.
Okay, comments. We are on for concept. Dave?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think it's consistent with the style of the rest of the property, and I can see the reasons they would want to have this.
And where should it go next, please?
So
Where should it go next?
I'd say final on
Preliminary, final, and consent. Okay. Are you done? Rob, please.
Part of me is bugged by, I think, the whole thing, like I think where Tip was going to, that it feels a little piecemealed as you add to the pool house, and then that the pool feels a little too small, and that area, it seems like a place like this, maybe looking at that whole area and upgrading it as a whole rather than just trying to kind of upgrade some pieces. So I'm not entirely comfortable with it just yet, but and I'll leave it.
What would you do differently then, please?
I think I would look at that whole area, and as you upgrade the pool house, that you start to look at dealing with the pool and maybe enlarging it, and then looking at some of the perimeter landscape, and just it feels like it could be a little better integrated in just that area. And that's just like really quick glance at it. So I haven't had the luxury of studying it like you folks, so.
Just to clarify, this is the second pool that's there, so it isn't the only pool.
It's just it's a proportion thing for me, and the space within what I'm seeing with that space on its own, so.
Understood.
Stacy, comments?
I don't really have a lot to add to this. I think it's fine because it's just a very small structure up on the corner of the property that most people don't encounter. It's kind of very secondary, I think, to San Ysidro Ranch. And I appreciate that it still blends in with all the existing architecture and that it's a nice place view-wise, I think, from the roof deck. So I support it for preliminary and final.
Comments, please. Oops. He's back, yeah. Chip, comments, please.
You know what, it's, personally, I think it's a minor project, and I'm all for improvement because I think improvements are great. But I really have a problem with the design of the building and just in top of architecturally, and I think the mass spoken skills are off. The overhang really bothers me, how it looks, the length of the opening, and it seemed like it could be much better project, well thought out, and I think you have a lot of opportunity to make it great. Because this is the pool for the hotel, am I right?
Yes, correct.
And I think that, I know Mr. Warner like to do things beautiful. He's known for that. And I would look at the pool, I would look at the massing the building, how to, just right now, I have no feeling for the building, the way you have it, and maybe I can't read the drawing too well, but it just doesn't give me any feeling for it. And because of that, I just can't support it just because I don't understand it. Thank you.
Robert, please.
Having grown up in that neighborhood, I am not on board with this project. There's something not San Ysidro Ranch about it. And I think you can make it such. The big, long opening just doesn't seem right to me. And maybe some more vertical elements like a chimney, even if it's a fake chimney or something, anything to add a little bit of architecture. I just can't support it the way it's presented right now.
Do you guys have SketchUp or something like that in your office?
Oh, well, we've got various different modeling tools, yeah.
Okay. I think that what you're getting at would show up in a fairly simple 3D model. Do you agree or not? Or do you
Yes,
think that it's either about form or it's about material?
It's about form too, seeing this, I can see the building kind of clearly enough what you're trying to do. And nothing I've seen here that excite me. And I think that it's just a beautiful, area, the pool. You should take a look at the whole thing, maybe scale the building down or make it more interesting. I don't mind a bigger program and some of the gym and all of that, but just right now, it's almost like you have a building on the right, then you decide to add the building on the left, and by adding the building on the left, you cut the overhang off, so it ties to the flat roof area, and it's not like a unifying, and wow, it's a brand new project.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say, definitely, while you were speaking the last time, I was thinking the same thing, that, we could do a 3D image that would kind of show the tone and style. And then definitely as we develop from conceptual to preliminary, we can add some of this detailing that I think you guys are looking for.
And I guess what coming down to is this, this is your first hearing in front of the board. I believe that you, personally, I think you carry your drawing way too far. I see that you have structural drawings, you have all the details, and we have not seen the buildings. And I want to be efficient with your time and everything else. And I think that should be the first step.
Right.
Very fast, very quick, before you should go on. We just don't want to waste time and money on the process.
So I'm not hearing anybody complain about the height.
No.
I'm not hearing anybody complain about this siding. So this to me is really about just
Evolving the design.
architecture,
Yeah.
right? This little thing. So what would you like to propose? And then we'll see how we feel about that, please.
Well, I mean, I would be happy to bring these drawings and some additional exhibits to a point where we could come back for a combined preliminary and final. I'm not hearing a lot that would be controversial about what we're proposing. Is just developing the design to a point where the board feels on board with the architecture. So I think that we could come back and combine preliminary and final and show that information, having the design to a point where it's ready for that part of the review.
Well, I would like to, I'm always big on having a landscape architect that in whatever you use as looking at this and seeing, because they often can add something to it.
Absolutely.
And making sure that we see the whole thing in context. part of the problem I'm having is I'm not seeing this thing in context. It's kind of floating out there and maybe that's, at least that's what the problem I'm having with it, so.
At least I think my recommendation is that you just maybe take just one step back, look at the whole project, look at the architecture, and make sure that, we like the project, and then you can finish it up, and then after that, you can go back for preliminary final. But I wouldn't take what you have now and try to do one SketchUp, because I don't think it will look better personally, what you have. I think that it needs much more than just a SketchUp model to make this looks great.
Well,
Yeah.
my sense of the SketchUp model is that the issues you've raised are gonna come blaring out at you, and you're gonna go, oh, really? So, is that what we did? So here's the bottom line question to me. Should we ask for uniformity of design throughout the entire structure? Or is it permissible to have things that get built over time that have a different flavor, that sort of have a different feel? So, create the history of the universe in one building.
Well, in a way, there are two different approaches, but since this is a small enough project, it's just one building, whatever the square footage is it of 50,
It's 800 square feet.
800 square foot, I think you should take a look at one project. There's no reason to look at this part built in 1920 and that we add another 200 square feet in. It doesn't make sense. You do that on much bigger scale project, and just take a look at the one thing, the pool.
Can I say something too?
Go ahead.
It's just not coordinated. The railing, what is that railing? Why are there no newels? What is the detailing? I mean, it just seems unresolved to me.
So Robert, one building or multiple building styles?
One building.
Dave?
I think either way can work. It's just up to them to show us something.
Rob?
They're the designers. I think we made some comments, go back to the drawing board and if you
Stacy?
come up with.
I mean, I think it's all about the materials, about how it comes together, because you can have two styles as long as the materials are having a conversation that makes sense. But if they're, if they're talking about two different things, then yeah, then make it more cohesive to one style, one building.
1,200 square feet is, about the length of this room by maybe 20 feet wide or something. One building, I think. With any way you want to go, it's somewhat one building. Okay? And I think a SketchUp model is going to help us. A SketchUp model is going to help resolve that for you. And then consistency of detailing, et cetera. And then preliminary final, I'm fine with. Full board,
Yeah. Oh,
okay?
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5, 231 Middle Road. This is the second time we've seen it. Further conceptual review. Our comments were nice project, provide FAR study, refine the architectural details, e.g. the arches, integrate incongruous elements. One member suggested utilizing thicker walls. One member suggested restudying color palette, restudy hardscape, considering varying materials and reducing amount. One member recommended that Canary Island date palm trees not be utilized in the landscape design. Research and return with information on the legality of the driveway configuration at the corner, middle, and I can't remember the side street. Restudy entry gate configuration location.
Okay, I'm Kurt Magnus, architect,
I'm Robert Richards, landscape architect.
and we've addressed a lot of your concerns there. We did start off there is existing drive-through kind of on the corner. I did do research and there were permits for that, but we've decided to take your suggestion and eliminate that. And we've come up with more of a pedestrian kind of entrance to the house and made it into a really nice kind of garden area, walled garden area. So that roadway's gone and we have a courtyard with an access gate on the Middle Road side and then another gate on the Mesa side. So, and I think that made a great improvement on the property too. You know, you're not gonna have a bunch of cars parked in your front yard. The owners were really happy with the solutions. So there's that, and then we did an FAR study.
Let me cut in here. The FAR has many little twerks and tweaks inside of it. If you did it correctly, which I did yesterday and then double checked myself this morning, you're not at 129, you're at 109. So that whole FAR thing, at least from consistency, goes away. So I think we just can walk away from that. And I will send you the revised FAR calculation.
Okay, yeah, with all, there's an existing ADU and all that's not,
Yes, I'll send it to you. You're at 109.
yeah, we're 109 and the neighborhood is at 109.
So it could be better.
So I think that works. And then Robert had a comment on thickness of the walls and one of the arches that face Mesa Road. And we've gone ahead and changed the wall thicknesses in the main part of the house to 2x12s. We'll get a really nice thick profile on the windows and the doors. And so that works. And the arch opening that Robert had a comment on, well, I lowered it down a little bit more to get more wall above, so it didn't look so, you know, manini there. So, and then there was a comment about the hardscape areas being a little too much. So removing that driveway really helped us in removing the hardscape.
Could I maybe show that in the landscape plans here?
So let's switch to landscape.
Like towards the end here. All right, so as Kurt was describing, there currently is a driveway that connects Middle and Mesa Road there on the corner. And I guess I wasn't here at the previous meeting, but your guys' comments brought the team into thinking, you know, is there a better use for that space? So what we're proposing now is a pedestrian kind of entry walk that comes right through the middle of that space. And there's parking there on Middle and Mesa Road. Maybe if you could just go down one sheet, please, David. So if you see in the top left and bottom left there, those are the two kind of pedestrian oriented entry areas into the property. And I don't know if you could maybe zoom in on the lower left one there. But the idea is to kind of line up this nice view looking through this courtyard space with maybe like a bird bath or a water feature. And we were using olive trees to kind of line the view looking into there. And there you can see the gate on the other side. This is from Mesa Road, so that's the gate on the other side on Middle Road. And then David, maybe we could go back to the landscape plan on the previous sheet, please. So we also kind of varied up some of the materials based on one of your comments by introducing some accent paving, which is going to be like a herringbone pattern of some tumbled pavers or stone material. And that's kind of shown there where that bird bath is, located right in front of the front door. We've got area of accent paving. There's a little dining patio there along Mesa Road and then in the back as well. And then we also reduced down the amount of paving with introducing decomposed granite walkway that goes along kind of the back side of the house here on Middle Road. And there was a comment about the Canary Island palms. So those are not part of any proposal here. And there's one actually proposed to be removed there that's right against a power line, so kind of a safety hazard. And then I think that's kind of the comments, addresses the comments.
We had to shift on the side, there's the ADU on the left, and then the garage, and then the main part of the house. But towards the ADU, we had to change that parking area a little bit to provide for the uncovered required parking space outside of the setback. There was an existing space in the setback, but now we're outside of the setback, so that was a planning requirement. And then we reduced the heights from the last of the wall, the plaster wall going along the property lines to meet the standard of 6 feet max. We're at 6 feet max along the middle road, and then on Mesa, we're taking it down to 5 feet. If you go to the elevation of the house, you could see kind of that wall ghosted in there. There's another view, I think. Maybe go to the one more. Again. So there's that arched opening French door, combo French door that we brought the arch down a little bit more so you can see more wall there. So, and then there was a comment on the color choice before. We've gone to more of a cream color on the building instead of that stark white. And we got rid of the green window color and doing it more of a taupe.
You done?
I think so.
Question, Stacy, please.
I'm just trying to understand the planting plan a little bit. I'm not seeing the palms that are listed in the site plan for it. Where are those located? You have 3 listed, a king palm, queen palms. Are they just conceptual? You're just going to add them later, or?
You know what, we had palms in the previous proposal, but in this one, I think the planting palette just kind of remained, but they're not proposed right now. There aren't any palms in the layout currently, so
Okay.
kind of gone more to like a Mediterranean kind of landscape here.
I mean, it reads kind of a combination of Mediterranean and subtropical.
You know, the back of the property has kind of a subtropical feeling, so
Mhm.
some of the plants were ideas on how to potentially embellish in the future in the back, but it's really nice. The previous owner was like an orchid grower, so it's all really nicely planted in the back, so.
So not touching it. I get.
Those were ideas on stuff that could be added to that, but in the front, it's more kind of this Mediterranean feeling.
Okay, yeah, I saw that more on the renderings, the 3D. Absolutely, that came through. Thank you.
Thanks.
Tim, please.
No questions.
Dave, please, questions?
No questions.
Rob, questions, please?
Robert, I'm just trying to understand the back. You have the back patio, and then you have like flagstone paving adjoining the back patio where you have a table and like an outdoor kitchen piece and the fire pit. What is the purpose of those adjoining areas? They're kind of, maybe one of them's really wide to be a walk, but maybe not wide enough to be a patio. What's the thinking, I guess, on that, in terms of the use, please?
So the house is a unique shape there with how it bends an angle. And so we kind of studied the paving there, and I didn't want to narrow down the paving really tight there because right out of the main living room is like kind of an indoor-outdoor relationship. So the flagstone goes up to an area which is supposed to function as like an outdoor dining area. And then we've got a space that connects up to the lawn with a fire pit that's there. So the paving is laid out to function for the clients so that they can, entertain a group of people there without narrowing down the paving too much.
That's kind of what drove the layout of how that fits into there right now. We also didn't want to have too much paving there, so we're trying to kind of bring the lawn in enough where you could see it from the living room, but also make it functional for people to, be outside of the living room space on the paved space. The clients like to entertain groups of people, so.
Okay, thank you.
Robert, questions, please. Where's the property line? I see Mesa Road down on the lower part, and I see a red line. What's that red line?
No,
Then I
the
see
red
a
line is
blue line kind of up farther.
the blue line is the property line. The red line was a boundary of where any landscape changes are proposed. It's
Okay.
labeled as such on.
The question is, are you aware that the County of Santa Barbara Roads Department prohibits anything, boulders, trees, in their right of way higher than 18 inches?
You've been talking with them and.
Yeah, we're going through the process with the county to have them review all the stuff in the right of way, so.
And
There's
those
existing
trees are
trees
gonna-
that are in the.
What?
There's existing trees that are out in that.
Yeah, that does, well, okay. So the answer is yes, I'm aware of that requirement and I'm reviewing it with the roads department.
Yeah, we're going through it with the Public Works Department.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 5231 Middle Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, so we are on for concept today. What should we do? Where should we go? Stacy?
I mean, I'm satisfied with the landscape portion of it. If it looks like the 3D renderings, I am concerned though what John just brought up about the ROW and what's allowable and knowing what's allowable. I'm not sure if they're gonna let you put olives in the ROW or not. Or fruit trees for that matter. It's a very restricted list. I know it's hard. I'd like to argue with them at times as well. So take a look at that. I mean, the spaces, I would like to see them, and I would say come back for, I mean, I would be fine with you coming back for preliminary. Not so cut up, like, especially in the front. And maybe like just a little more pedestrian entrance. I did look too at your neighborhood, because at first I was like, oh, what's with all this parking around the house all cut in? But then I realized everyone in this neighborhood this seems to be the standard all around you. So, but maybe look at that. There's a lot of street parking that you've pulled in. Not sure how that relates though to fire, because I think they can just slide right up on the street here. But I know you probably want guest parking, and it does seem to be within the nature of the neighborhood. But yeah, I'd like to see like the front spaces a little less cut up, a little bit larger. That's all. That would be my suggestion for preliminary.
Could you clarify what you mean by a little larger?
Well, like for instance, that little seating area that you have in the front, it's really tiny with just the 2 chairs in terms of the scale. And then going to like the fountain area, a little more cohesion, maybe.
So is it okay if I respond?
Mhm.
We had comments that asked us to reduce the amount of paving, so we tried to introduce kind of more of like a soft garden space into this area as opposed to having what was like a hard paved driveway, and that was something that the clients
Oh,
was fitting. So we can study it further.
I agree with that too. They don't have to be hard. They can be gravel. Gravel's your friend. Yeah.
Well, that
Or
is
DG.
That is a
Yeah.
combo of gravel, the flagstone, the herringbone.
Yeah, like the
The
DG.
artificial turf there. So it's quite an open space.
Yes, but it reads scale-wise tight when you compare it to the size of the rooms in the house. Outdoor rooms typically need to be a little bit bigger. Just consider it, but I'd be fine with you coming back for preliminary.
Tip, comments, please.
No comments. I think that we should move this project along to preliminary, final, and consent.
Okay, Dave, please, comments?
Yeah, I want to compliment the design team really responding to the comments of the board. I think these are really great improvements from the last time around. And also, I think you're really improving what the existing house and the landscape in a very nice way. My only comment would be, it's almost like the house is sitting in a parking lot of paving, the way that the majority of the paving wraps around the house and comes right to it. I'm fine, I'll support it this way, but you might want to consider that. It's just feels like it's really a lot of paving right up to the house. But I can support going forward with preliminary final on consent.
Rob, comments, please.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys too. I think you've done a really nice job, particularly with the front in terms of getting rid of the driveway. That was the solution. But to add constructive to what Stacy was saying, Robert, that I see is, if I can give you some direction there, I think that that front patio feels small, and if you made that bigger, and then you have those two kind of auxiliary seating areas, I almost feel like that's busying it up. And that if you were to kind of combine those kind of seating areas and have a more large kind of patio with that little formal element you have there, and then those areas that now you've now added seating, make that landscaping. Just simplify it, I think would kind of go a long way. And then and the back has the same thing. Either make that patio in the back where all that flagstone adjoins. Is that like a brick piece in the back, the square patio piece?
Yeah, we're thinking it'd be like a tumbled paver.
Okay, so either make that whole back kind of that tumbled paver and stop it at one point. See how you did the flagstone around the fire pit? You know, where you've got individual flagstone pieces. I think it takes more time, as you know, it takes more time to draw that. But I think if you connected some of those areas with more of that, it would read less paved and more organic. So you've got, you've done a great job. Everything's there. I just think some of those little fine improvements, I'd be like, I think it'll be a really great project from where you started off with. So thank you.
Robert, comments, please.
Well, John, you being the brains of the operation here raised a very good point. If not those trees, then what? What goes out there? I think we need a whole new landscape plan.
Well, we're going to see it next meeting, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's consistent with the neighborhood. I went around and
They are allowed.
formulated
It
this.
is consistent. I don't think that those trees are legal. That's my sense.
Well,
There was an item C1 or C2 that came through today that wanted to propose things in the right of way. They got it completely shot down and they're at 18 inches or lower. Okay, it's up on, I can't remember where it was. So we've seen that time after time. Other people have planted there. I agree with you on that street. That doesn't mean it's legal. We're not going to approve it.
could I ask for the board to make a comment that goes into the record that they support planting trees in that area so that we can use that? I mean, do you think it's advantageous to have these trees in that space? I think it's.
I think you could have less of them, but I just actually went through the same thing on another project where within the right of way, who's the guy with roads, but they did not allow any trees above 18 inches on a project I just did in the right of way. So they're really a stickler on that stuff now. So you might at least talk to those guys. I think that'll help kind of clarify where you need to go. So.
Have you finished? Yeah, number one, I think the project sometimes projects make huge leaps and sometimes they make nice incremental leaps. To me, this is a nice incremental leap. I think that eliminating that driveway was really to your personal advantage. I think you did a very nice job on doing that. I think that that's going to bring a heart connection as people enter the house rather than a utilitarian. I feel 99% sure those trees aren't going to be there. I think that Robert has the correct, we need to see that. But you can work that out with roads. And then, my question is about these parking places there. What's that material that you're proposing there?
Thinking it would be like a gravel.
Yeah, that's what I see around town. I think that's the right thing, and as informal as possible. You know, no curbing on it, just let the plants kind of, and then have some gravel and things like that. And I personally think it'd be better to get rid of the upper right-hand corner one, so that there's just one right at the word, Middle Road, and one right above so it doesn't seem like it's, a city.
The one that you just identified is existing there, and so, but we could look at it, removing it and returning it to landscape.
So anyway, I think that that's a little, those are tweaks at this point and nothing more than that. Yes, Kurt?
Given that, you don't have a problem with the architecture and that we're talking more about all the landscape stuff.
Hardscape, yeah.
Landscape and hardscape. Would it be possible to get preliminary on this go around?
You're not agendized.
We'd like to be able to get into the building department.
You can go in right now.
Okay, because yeah, as you
You
know,
can go in right now.
forever to go through building department.
Yep.
Just as long as we can progress and then,
Turn it in right now.
okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and then, you're not agendized, so we're legally not permitted to give you preliminary. Okay, just the law, okay? So what does everybody think? Back here, or should Rob and I work it out at consent?
Consent? Yeah, we can work it
So
out.
we won't see you at the full board next time, and which means potentially you could even be on the next meeting. I don't know if it's their space, but thank you.
And let me just
Okay.
add, I was reading your gravel areas as flagstone. It looked like it was five-sided flagstone. So with the comments I made, take that into account, I guess. So
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And Chip has a conflict with the next item. Thank you very much. We'll see you in a month.
Oh, a whole month.
Okay, so Zach, are you with us today? Be good, buddy. Okay, so we've seen this a couple of different times. It looks like you went to planning commission, yes? And you got a parking space eliminated? Ah,
So it's in the works. We've submitted for it. Our planner thinks we can probably get a waived hearing. So
okay, so go ahead and, do you want me to read that, David? Is that why you have this in? No. Does it make, okay, so Zach, your turn, please.
all right, so this is the second time we've seen you guys, and we've took your comments to heart, and I think we've improved the project quite a bit. I kind of will go through the design quickly as you've already seen this, but if we can zoom into the FAR there a little bit, go over that. So we're currently only at 74%. Existing house is about 1,000 square feet.
I think the site plan is very important too.
Yeah, can you zoom in a little bit more on the square footages? There we go. So first floor is existing 1,000. We're proposing about a 500 square foot addition and a new attached garage of 449 square feet. So yeah, go to the site plan. That's the best place to start. All right, so bottom right there. So in the previous design, we had a new single car attached garage, and then we had one covered space and one uncovered space. And the problem with that was it created a very large opening from the motor court to the street, which was about 30 feet wide. So one of the board's comments was, can we reduce that opening? And so this opening is now 20 feet. And I know there's been some right-of-way discussions today. So I've been talking with roads about putting the gate there, and I think I'm gonna give up on it. Because as you've been saying, they don't really allow stuff like this within the setback anymore. So we'll probably eliminate the motor gate completely, and just have it open, because there's not enough depth for cars to park within if the gate moves inside the setback. And the trash will probably move up as well, so we get it completely out of there. So the current design now has a two-car garage, which the owner likes very much. And then again, we're trying to get the modification to eliminate the required uncovered parking space. And then the old original, if you go up to the existing, so that detached, yeah, on the left there. So there was an old detached garage that was within the setback. And we were trying to kind of make that part of the building, even though it was in the setback, but we decided to forego that. So if you go back to the site plan, on the north, so on the north side there, which is on the right, the entire building is now within the setback. So makes for a much easier approval. Maybe the 3D is the next best spot. That's on, you go one more page. So elevations, I guess, and it's a very modest building, very low, obviously way under the required height limit. And for the style, we're just kind of trying to modernize the building a bit. It's a bit dated and cottagey now, so we're trying to make it a bit more modern, adding a nice Class A shingle roof, plaster walls, nice nice metal windows with wood trim around it, and then a steel and glass garage door. The site's very heavily vegetated, and it's very well screened naturally, so the building just kind of fades away. You can go to the next page now. Here's the 3D. The top left is the view from the street. Again, it's kind of showing gate pillars and the gate, which we'll probably have to get rid of. But again, we've narrowed that opening from street to motor court to 20 feet from 30 feet. And then we're showing the new larger two-car garage now. The top right is kind of a bird's eye. Previously, the entry, which is just to the left of the garage, was kind of in the motor court as well. But we've kind of put a fence to screen it from the motor court, so you can't see in directly from the street. And then there's a nice little outdoor dining area to the left of that. That all gets included under a new flat roof. And that's about it.
Thank you. So I think the reason you're here is for positive comments for the planning commission or hearing officer, wherever that ends up. Is that basically what you're here for?
I mean, I'm that and to go to preliminary final.
Okay, well, we are on for concept only, further concept, so we can't give you an.
Well, no, to be agendized next.
Okay, very good. So questions, Robert, please? I'm just going down the line on this.
No questions.
Dave, questions?
Is there a pedestrian entry other than from the driveway?
There's not.
Does that work?
Again, there's not gonna be any gate there, so. And there's kind of
Oh, that's my
vegetation and fencing everywhere, so.
Okay. That's my question.
Dave, excuse me, Rob.
Yeah, I had that same question. And then how do you access that dining area? Do you have to then walk around the lawn to get to it, or is there a little break in the fence by the front door?
Yeah, if you zoom in there, there's a gate that goes, it's on the south side of the motor court, which is the left side. So there's a wood gate that goes from the motor court to like a paved walkway that will take you into the entry. And then for the outdoor dining area, that's just kind of in the middle of the lawn there. So you can access it from the east side.
Is the walk attached to the dining area where the table is, or is there, I thought there was a wall there when I looked at a sketch. That's what confused.
No, it's supposed to kind of be more organic and separated from the hardscape, so it's probably going to be gravelled just to kind of soften it up.
What is that fountain piece, please?
That's
Like jammed against the tree?
That's existing.
I have a picture of that. What is that?
Yeah, there should be
Like hiding.
should be a photo of it.
I looked, I didn't see one, but
Yeah, top right. You can kind of see it. There's like a little raised. Yeah, this is the lawn, and there's a it's kind of this weird. It's kind of in those rocks. It's not much of a feature, but that's just staying. This.
Is that it?
thank you. That's my question.
Question, Stacy, please?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand more of the walkways around the house. Can we go back to the main site plan? So that's all just going to get planted out and it's kind of all within, and then you're just, I didn't realize that wall was so low there. And so you do have a big fence behind it. And no, nothing in the right of way. Okay, no further questions.
Can we go to Google Earth, please? It's almost like he was anticipating me. So where I'm going with this, wanting to look at this is, how do guests interact not only with your property, but in the neighborhood? And so, do they park on the street? Are there little pullouts? Do they park in the driveway? What do guests do typically on this street?
I mean, it's a really, these are zoned as 2E1, but they're all tiny little properties. So, the setbacks are really restrictive. But right now, essentially where we're showing that the motor court is where they park currently. And it seems like every place on the neighbor, I have photos of the neighborhood too, if you want to look at those. But it seems most people just have, no garage and just a little space off the street.
So people just pull in your driveway?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my only question. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 6590 Santa Rosa Lane, please?
No requests.
Okay, so we are on for concept. They have a modification going on. He wants to come back for prelim final if we so desire. Comments, Robert?
Well, talk about hedges and trees and the ROWs. I mean, it's interesting to me that, these older properties are, able to have them and new ones can't. But just in general, are we on comments? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
I think it's a reasonable project and I think it should come back for prelim final.
Consent or full board, please?
Consent.
Okay, is that it? Dave, comments, please?
Yeah, I can support the project as proposed and back on preliminary final.
Rob, comments, please?
I think you need a front walkway that comes to the, so you need another gate in there that's to the left of the auto kind of piers, and incorporate another pier and then have a pedestrian gate and bring that walkway all the way out to the, bring that walkway all the way out to the public street basically at that point, because I don't think walking through the driveway really works really well. And then that dining area is not connected. That's what I was throwing. You have to kind of walk through the lawn. So there need to be, you just break that wall or something up on the back end so you can get to that dining area. Because I don't think you want to go out of the house and then walk around on the lawn, particularly if it's wet, to get to that dining area. That should be connected. But the rest, I mean, it's that's minor stuff. I think it's easily fixed and resolved. And there's some details that I think could be proportion wise could be improved on, but I think that'll all come together as you move forward. So thank you.
Stacy, comments, please.
I agree with Rob about having a secondary pedestrian entrance on this, just because it feels like you're going through a tunnel to the garage, and the gate just seems a little like secondhand, not easy to find, a little friendlier. And just, I mean, it's such a small project. I mean, it's very modest, and I like the style of the architecture, and it's all very consistent with the neighborhood. I think it's all fine, and I think it's just address the front walkway issue, and you're good to come back for preliminary, final.
I don't know the neighborhood that well. I'd have to drive it.
Right by the YMCA,
What?
right by the YMCA.
No, I know the general thing, but there's sort of the general, and then you get down and get dirty and you find out what the real neighborhood's about. That I don't know.
Photos of the
Yeah.
neighbors.
So my sense is keep it simple, stupid. I don't think I'd put a second gate in there for the simple reason, I don't know where they're gonna park. Where are they gonna park to walk in?
It's just like when you go in and out of the house, you walk in the neighborhood, you have a gate to walk out of.
And therefore, maybe the hedge gets, the difference, there's a lawn or something there on the left, and then there's a driveway on the right. Somehow embellish that, maybe pull that gate all the way out as far as you can towards the street, so people can zip in that way without breaking actually on Lemon Grove Lane. So I think there may be different ways, make it pretty. Someone down the street from where I live has an arbor with a Cecil Bruner over it. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying as a decorative element that might pick it up and make it really obvious. So anyway, I think the product is modest. I think it is much better without the parking place here for the guests. And I think people are going to park, my senses are going to park in the driveway. So why try to create something else? So that's mine.
There's no other place to park.
And you're not on your voice.
Yeah. I'm guessing that people probably park at the YMCA across the street from you, which is ample parking. Yeah.
The only other thing that, and I'm glad you're dealing with the trash cans from the pictures there. I've sometimes seen where trash in the setback is problematic for, when you get in the building. So I don't know. I mean, just be aware of that, maybe.
Yeah, we're
like
gonna
what you're doing.
pull the whole trash thing out of the right of way, just to not have to deal with that.
Okay, so I think you come back for preliminary final whenever the planning department says you're permitted to come back. I think to consent, we can take care of it. Yeah. And is that okay with everybody? Consent? Okay, and so I don't know when you'll be permitted to come back with the modifications sitting out there.
Yeah, and then can we add a note that you guys still support the mod?
Absolutely. Does show of hands support the modification? No third parking? Yeah, unanimous. Okay,
Before we adjourn, I just wanted to say thank you to Jason and to Jasmine for their help with the meeting. We would not have been able to hold today's meeting without their help.
agreed.
I second that.
Okay, so there's no motion for you today. So, okay, so do I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So move.
Second? Anybody?
I'll second that.
Okay, and all those in favor? Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed?